Live. Welcome, everyone, to the 54th episode of Playtest This. Can you believe we made it this far? Well,
Unbelievable.
it is mildly unbelievable. Tonight, we have our special guest, Mark Mckinnon. But first, let's introduce our star-studded panel. Sasha, take us away.
Hello, my name is Sash Jelton. I'm a designer based in Portland, Oregon, and I teach board game design to elementary and middle school kids. And I just love talking design and playing games with people. So uh, that's me.
Nerd. Mike, introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Mike Nichols. I'm a budding designer and publisher, maybe come early next year, maybe a publisher.
Cool.
But yeah, just that's pretty much it for now. Catch me early next year, and there might be more.
All right. Thanks for being here. Mark, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name's Mark Mckinnon. I'm in Surrey, Scotland just now. I'm a designer. This is my second game. Kickstarter, self-publisher.
Sweet.
So yeah, I've been there, done the rounds. Here for a second bite of the cherry.
Nice. What was your first game? Can people find it and buy it anywhere?
Buying it's a little bit difficult just now. Basically just let my website die. But Wreck and Ruin is the first game.
I think I've heard that one.
Kind of Mad Max post-apocalyptic. It's basically bumper cars with guns.
Fun.
As I've heard it described as. So.
Yeah, I think I might have seen that one actually. Cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming on the show. We're looking forward to checking out your game and hopefully giving you some useful feedback. So, let's dive in. Go ahead and give us the teach.
So this is Wardens of Wulvengrad. It's basically a cooperative monster hunting boss battler. So we work together to try and take down the monster. We win or lose as a team. So one of us goes down, we all go down. Each character has their own unique 15-card deck. This basically is our abilities, but also our stamina. So basically every turn we're going to get 5 cards and we use these as we see fit. Now, each card basically has 2 abilities on it. So the top half is our main action, which is basically the game's split into 2 phases. So we've got the Warden phase, where we do everything that we want to do that our cards allow. And then we have a monster phase where he basically turns around and hits his back. So the cards have to last us through both phases. The top half we can activate in our phase. The bottom half can be activated during either phase as long as the card allows it. But the card's discarded when either ability is used. So what you'll find is the top half is primarily offensive. The second half is more kind of defensive abilities. Now, the monster's health is represented by this big token bag here, and basically we have to empty this to kill it. There's various different tokens in here, but this is what they look like. So the first one here we've got is a wound token. Basically, these are the most kind of basic tokens. So we're doing 5 damage, we're drawing from the bag. You draw one of these, you continue to draw. The second one here is an armor token. So we basically, this costs 1 more to break through. So this takes up 2 of your damage, basically, when you're wanting to do it. So if you draw this last, you don't have the ability to smash it, so therefore it will go back in the bag. This one is a reaction token. So basically, the monster has 3 different decks. He kind of deck builds as he goes along. Starts off with just basic moves, but he's got a reaction deck and an rage deck. So we would pull a reaction card from here unless we can do enough damage. Basically, cost you 3 of your damage to smash through one of these, but you can only smash through 1 per attack if you're doing a particularly big attack. Most of us can't do a lot of damage in one hit, except for Mike with Creve over here. He's basically our damage dealer, so he can kind of consistently do 6 and up kind of attacks, so that really only affects him. But the last one in here is the rage token, which is as nasty as it sounds. Fortunately, there's not a lot of them in the bag, but the problem with this one is it cannot be avoided. So basically, when we're pulling that out, it cancels any other damage that's been done. So if you're doing, for instance, 6 damage, pulling that out last isn't the worst because we ultimately have to deal with everything in there. But pulling it out first isn't great because it would cancel all the rest of it. And then we'd pull from his rage deck. So he'd basically do a right big nasty counter back. So the monster, he runs a rage meter. So every time we pull one of these, you'll see he's got a little +1 rage on it. So it gets a little bit angrier. It doesn't, but he also naturally gets angrier every turn. And when it reaches 6, we basically automatically pull from his rage deck. But what happens at that point is anything that is in the discard pile, so whether that's rage reaction cards, they'll get shuffled back into his basic deck. So they basically become staple moves that he can potentially pull from again. So we want the fight to, we have to be careful kind of how we tackle them, but also we don't want the fight going too long, because if we let it go on too long, then there'll be too many rage cards in there, and it just means it'll just get nastier and nastier. So it's a kind of balance between the two of them. Now, the way that these cards work then is that we all have a basic movement of 3. So I am Torvax, the Trapper, the green guy. I can move 3 hexes every turn. But if I want to move any additional movement, I can discard any number of cards from my hand, and I'll gain an extra 2 movement for each. So you get to decide. Now, you can see the monster takes up this lovely big area here. The green area, this represents his cone of vision. So this guy, he kind of primarily targets somebody in front of him. He's a razor tusk, he's a giant boar. So he likes to run forward and trample people, gore them with the tusks. So he'll primarily target people in this kind of area here. But if we attack him from the back in this one little hex here, the red section, this is his weak spot. So he basically has less armor in here. So if we can, we'll try and take advantage of that. All the kind of monster details, we don't really need to know very much of it just now, but this is his monster stat sheet. So you see on here, he does have armor of 2. So basically any damage that we need to do, we always need to do more than 2 in order to hurt him. We have 5 cards in our hand, and we can only do 1 attack, but what we can do is we can basically stack as many of the cards you want from your hand to form 1 big attack. So this would be strength 4 attack, just with the little red symbols up the top left hand corner, and the ability on the top of the stack is the one that would trigger. We do also have weapons each, so we can basically add their strength to them. So we've all got strength 1 swords, except for Mike, who's run about with a strength 2 axe. So he basically flat out negates its armor every hit, but just gets straight up damage. So for instance, this one here, the stun ability, this would allow me to do basically 5 damage. So my 4 here plus my weapon 1. I would take off 1 armor because I'm in the weak spot, or I'd take off 2 if I was anywhere else round about him. But then I would draw tokens 1 at a time. I'd resolve them, and the stun ability would allow me basically to any one of these 3. When I draw it, I could treat it as a wound. So therefore, I can use that ability to negate some of the bad stuff that's coming out here. We all kind of have our own kind of unique use within the fight. So Shadow over here, she's great at basically manipulating the monster. That's her job. So she can do things like she has abilities that allow her to draw wound the tokens from the bag and basically predict what they're going to do. So I can use that in conjunction with stun to kind of see, right, there's a rage coming up, so I'm going to use my stun ability to get rid of that. And there's no hidden information between us at all. So we can show our cards, we can talk about it, we can openly activate in any order. It's not that I do all my abilities and then somebody else takes their turn. It can literally be, right, do you know what? I'm going to move. And then Sasha says, right, before I move, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to, buff you. And then Shadow maybe says, right, well, I'm going to do this first. And we can decide between us basically what we're going to do. So it might be I move, Mike attacks, Sasha plays a card, Evan then moves, whatever we decide is all fair game. And that's pretty much it.
Sweet. And so just to be clear, what you're saying with this attack is only one of these cards has its effect.
That's correct.
You're
Yeah.
just getting the little symbol in the upper left for the other cards.
Yeah.
Got
Now,
it.
if the card doesn't have a symbol on there, you can still put it into the attack as well, and you just gain 1 for it. But just as we start off, we do have one kind of strong attack in there that will give us an extra 2 damage. So you'll see that Mike Creve, I think he's got more than us. He can kind of consistently do a bit more damage.
And so we can only do 1 attack, but we can play multiple other cards.
Exactly. Yep. So you could do 1 attack,
abilities.
add multiple cards into the attack. You could also activate, if you wanted, 5 of the bottom half of the cards called an opportunity, because you can use them kind of whenever it allows. So you could activate 5 opportunities, or you could activate 1 big 5 attack, or anywhere in between, basically.
Got it.
Do we have to take our whole turn?
No,
or can
it's
we
not.
break it up?
You can break it up as much as you want. So we can decide between ourselves the order that we do things. Also, you don't need to use all your cards. It's not a deck builder, so you keep the cards in between rounds if you want to keep them for the next turn, and then you would draw back up to 5. But because the decks represent our stamina, what that means is that you don't get the cards back like a deck builder. Basically, we have to rest. We have to spend a turn doing nothing in order to refresh our deck. We do have abilities that allow us to regain some of the cards back from our discard piles, but the primary way of doing that is resting. And you basically just do that at the start of your turn. You say, I'm going to rest. You don't do anything. You just refresh your deck. When you're resting, the only thing that you're interested in is if you see this card here, it has on defense, and under the defense opportunity on the left, it's got a little grey shield for 1. That's basically that reduces damage by 1. So if you're resting, that's literally the only symbol that you're interested in. You can keep those cards in your hand if you want whilst resting. You can also keep them you can discard them during the monster's turn, basically to reduce the amount of damage that you receive. But when you're resting, that's the only thing that you're interested in. Everything else, even any special attacks to that, you're not going to activate it.
Sweet.
Let me just refresh my deck. I'll just quickly go through the way our health works. Sorry, everything's locked. So we've got our own kind of little health bag, and when we are taking damage, we'll draw from this bag. Now, the majority of stuff we have in here is kind of like the monster. We've just got like kind of basic health. You can see the kind of makeup on your little character board, what your starting health is, but you do have a couple of buffs in here. Now, it's a closed system between your bag and the board, so if you're using an ability which basically puts one of these into your bag and you don't have any on your board, it doesn't trigger for you. So the way this works is that I'll just do this so I don't mess about with my bag too much. Right. So if I'm drawing, say, 4 damage, right, these are basically just health tokens. And we also have 3 buffs that we can put in here. The most powerful one is this one, the dodge. What happens is it doesn't matter where in the order we draw when you're taking damage, everything else is dodged and returned to the bag. So in this case, if I drew out 3 health and then the dodge would go back to my board, but 3 health would go back in my bag. Block kind of works the same, but block only does what comes out after it. So if I have a stack kind of like this, I would take 1 damage, but then I would block the other 2, so these would be returned to my bag. And then the final one is a counter attack, where we basically just, if we're next to the monster, get the chance to stab it back. Now, even if you don't manage to trigger the abilities, these also just count as 1 basic health as well. So it's always good if you get the opportunity to basically put these into your bag, and just makes you a bit more robust, and they can be right lifesavers if you get them at the right time. So I'll just stick these back on my player board. If you notice your character sheet, it does have a little run on the top. You can basically use that to track the order of the tokens as you draw them, and then once you're finished, you basically just put them back in the little piles on your player board, and then that's it. They're ready, hopefully, to go back into your bag at some other point. So we can run right down to the wire. You can have the bag empty, which is fine, you're still alive. However, if you have to draw from the bag and you don't have one of these tokens in there, then that's it. It's game over.
Sweet.
So good luck, everybody. So I'll go through the character kind of roles, and then we're ready to rock. So first of all, you've got Mike, who's playing Creve. Creve is our primary damage dealer. Creve is pretty selfish. All his cards are about maximizing damage, so there's very few things that will affect us in any way. He's not interested in that. He's like, hold my beer. I'm going to go hit this thing. Sasha is Artoria. She's our tank. Sasha's job is basically to keep Mike alive as much as possible, and Mike will make that probably as difficult as possible. She has abilities in there that basically she can deal damage as well, but her primary thing is about gifting defense to the rest of us. So she can do things like swap places with somebody that's within 2 hexes of her, or she can just gift defense from a distance. But ideally, we want to kind of position her where she's kind of taking a lot of the damage for us. Like I said earlier on, Evan, you are Shadow, your monster manipulator. So you've got some abilities in there like pulling tokens from the bag to see the order. You can also look at the monster deck and basically decide what card's going to come out next. Things like that. And I am the trapper. I am Torvax, who is a bit of ranged support. His job is basically I'm a bit healer. I'm a bit of everything. Also a mad trapper, where I basically can throw down landmines and things like that as well to kind of blow them up a little bit. So
Sweet.
yep, that's pretty much everything.
I guess
And,
one other quick question. So what is the shield for?
Oh yeah. So Artoria has a shield. She's the only one that starts off with any kind of armor, for want of a better word. So basically you reduce damage by 1 for your character, and none of the others, it doesn't affect the rest of us. If we have a look at, let me find a nice monster card. Right, so this is a monster ability. The top half is who he's going to target. The second half is what he would do. So this card you'll see does 4 damage. So for everyone but Sasha, we would draw 4 from the bag unless we were using cards to reduce that with the defense symbol on them. But Sasha, you're not automatically down to 3. But there are some in here. Let me find a nice one that has the different symbol on it. So I'm going to be a little bit nasty and show you a rage card so you can kind of see the difference. But you'll notice this one has a different red symbol on it. The 5 there represents armor breaking. So basically, Sasha, your shield doesn't help you with that one. You can still use defense to block it as normal, but any kind of equipment that you'd have that would reduce damage doesn't work. So you tend to find this affects either, like this one, this is a crush attack. So basically, your shield doesn't help you because he's going to sit on you, or you find abilities like later on, we've got things that acid attacks, that kind of thing. Basically, your armor doesn't really help you very much. As you can see, it's a little bit nasty, but the monsters AI controlled. You see everything's done on the card, so I'll kind of control him and I'll run through all these other kind of symbols as the cards come out. But let's not look at those for as long as possible. Is the trick.
Sweet.
Ready to rock?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to draw a hand of 5 cards. I'll put mine on the board. We can see each other's anyway, but I'll put mine on the board just to make things a little bit easier to start us off. Right, so just to kind of kick us off, if you want, what I'll do is I will play my opportunity on this card, my bolster ability. This one has range 4. So all wardens in range, including me, may place 1 block token into our health bags. Take 1 off your board, stick it in there. And then what I do is I just create a discard pile with that. And then apart from that, I'm not a very good attacker, so I'm happy for somebody else to do something if you want.
So there's no turn order. We just sort of decide who goes next.
Nope. So the only limit is, so we've got 3 movement. You just have to take that all at the one time. So I could move my 3 basic. I could then attack if I was in range. I could then spend cards later on to gain extra movement to move away. But what I can't do is I can't spend 2 of that movement, attack, and then take the extra 1.
How do you know what your movement is?
Got a basic movement of 3 and then an extra 2 for every card that you discard.
And then
some cards do have a little move symbol on them. So let me see, maybe this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's hex, if it's a hex symbol, it basically involves something on the board. If it's round, it's something to do with an ability.
So if there's one person right here, then can other people hit this weak spot?
No, so we can only do it one at a time. So either we have to queue up to get into it, or basically we just let somebody do it and then.
Is
Yeah,
there,
I mean, I
if-
can go right for the weak spot right now.
yeah.
Sure.
How about ranged attacks? Is there friendly fire, or is like if someone was standing here, could someone have a ranged shot from here?
You can range shot, but you only get the bonus for the weak spot if you're actually in that one hex right
Got it.
behind it.
Okay.
So we and the monster, we block movement, but we don't block line of sight. So we can shoot through each other. We just can't move through each other.
Okay.
So yeah, don't need to worry about arrow to the back of the head or anything like that.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, and since you're the one that hits the hardest.
Yeah, so let's give this a whirl. All right, so I'm discarding one to get my extra movement. Move myself up here. And then I'm going to start with this one. Since I do 2, so no matter what, I'm dealing 1 damage, right?
Mhm.
And then this is +1 on top of my hammer,
Axe.
and +2, +3, and do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there like a max health per section?
No, so the numbers are primarily for random movement. He does occasionally do something where it's randomized. But what happens is for every 3 tokens that we draw from the bag that we claim, basically, if you look at the monster stat sheet, we've got a little kind of on the right hand side, we've got a little area that kind of represents this. So if you're hitting zone 4, basically for every 3 tokens, you also break a little bit of the monster off, which are these little resource tokens. And these are things that we'd use to craft new gear kind of later on in the primarily campaign game. We're just one-shotting it.
Got it.
Yeah, for these are pretty much just bragging rights for us just now. So you could still hit it in the back, still gain the benefit of the weak spot. If we remove all the tokens from that area, we just wouldn't get any more tokens for it.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll do this. The bloodlust with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You'll find that Creve will consistently just hit it with everything he's got, because why not?
Didn't you discard one of them? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
only.
did discard 1 to get
Oh,
there.
that's only 4 cards. Okay.
I just figured it would be a lot easier to get to the weak spot now than when it runs
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So 6, and then I only have to take 1 for armor.
Yeah.
So 5 damage.
So you draw 5 damage, and the way that Bloodlust works is once we've drawn all our tokens, for every blood that you draw, you get to draw an extra token, and if it's blood, you keep it. So you potentially double damage.
If you are capable.
Capable just means that you're standing and you're in range. So you've done 1, 2, 3, and then this would be 4, 5 of your damage.
So that's all because the first damage was blocked, right?
Yeah. So first of all, you do break off a little bit. So first blood, there you go. There's a little token for you.
Wahoo!
So you claim all these. So these basically just you organize them nice and pretty in your area. And these are bragging rights, but also he may or may not like to target people that hurt him a lot occasionally. Just throwing that out there. But yeah,
so then I
you
draw 3 more.
Yep, so you draw 3 more. If they're blood, you get to keep them as well. don't worry, none of these things trigger while you're doing this second.
Oh.
Oh, just as well. So yep, you get to keep that one, and thank God we get to put these back into the bag.
Why don't those trigger?
Just because this is the bonus ability of his Bloodlust.
Oh, okay.
So basically, for every blood he drew in the attack, he gets to draw another token, and if it's blood, he keeps it. But it's not part of his attack sequence as such.
I see. Oh, I see.
So yeah, very successful first attack.
Guys, I'm spent. Good luck.
I'm just gonna stand next to him because my cards let me interact with people that are near me, and so I don't know if anyone else has any sort of plans, but I think I'm gonna hang out right over here unless someone has anything they want to do before I do this.
I'm okay.
I have no idea.
Okay, I guess I'm moving here.
Let's have a look and see what you've got, Evan.
Yeah, I might need some help. There's a lot for me to read.
Okay, so your bottom abilities aren't very useful except for your reflexes.
Okay.
So you could be really selfish and use the reflexes card to put a dodge into your own health bag. So it's probably a good start. It's always, if you get the opportunity to get some of these in your bag, it's probably worth it.
Okay. I'll do that. So I put one of these into my bag.
Yep.
And then
discard the card.
Okay.
Now you have two nice abilities which can help you. Actually, you've got a couple to choose from.
Okay.
So you have Goad, which is a very risk versus reward attack. So what happens is you can manually increase his rage meter, and you'll gain 1 damage for every one that you raise it. So it's at 0 just now. You could potentially put it up to 6, gain an extra 6 damage, but it does mean that you're going to annoy the life out of him, and he's going to
that sounds like
do
a bad
nasty.
idea.
So you could use that if you wanted, but you could increase it up to 3, 4, probably safely. We could use stun if we wanted to play it safe and see if there's anything that we wanted to avoid. Predict the precise strike one is probably a good start for you, because what this does is that when you're drawing out the bag, if you draw something nasty that you don't like, it basically sits out by the side of the bag. So it basically means that the next attack has to deal with it. So you don't trigger it, but it gives us the opportunity then next turn to stun it or something to get rid of it, rather than just taking it in the chin.
Any token drawn? Is that's 1 token?
No. So if you were doing 5 damage and you drew out 5, if you're really unlucky and you drew out 5 reaction tokens, you could say, do you know what? Like, you might choose to break through one of them at 3 damage and then leave the other 2 out the bag, or you could leave all 5 of them out there, so you're not technically doing any damage to it, but we know what the next 5 token draws are going to look like. So in general, if it was blood, you'd keep it, but the other stuff you'd kind of...
So I've already played the bottom half of 1 card, so now I just kind of ignore the rest. Is that?
Yep. So the card that had reflexes on, that's now discarded. That's out of play. But you have a movement of 3, so you could still move 3 if you wanted.
Okay.
You also have a ranged attack. You've got some nifty little throwing daggers here.
Okay.
So you could throw from there. So
it looks like it does zero damage though.
It does 0 on its own, but if you'd have to spend 1 card to move next to it, to gain the 1 from the sword. So it's kind of neutral. Just attacking where you are. You'd get the same damage as what you'd do spending the card to get closer to attack. So you could basically it'd be 4 damage is what you'd be doing if you put all your cards into it. His armor is 2, so it means you would only draw 2 tokens from his bag. But it's a way of whittling it down. If you want to,
Why
do
don't
do that.
you give me a suggestion for the turn?
I think we would start with, let's do a precise strike. So
Okay.
what we'll do is we'll stack the cards up. We're just going to throw everything at him. Right, so you do 4 damage based on the 4 that's on the card. We've got no damage on the weapon to add on. So it'd just be 4 minus his 2 armor. So if you want to draw 2 tokens from his wound bag for me, please.
Are we hitting him in a specific spot?
So you can declare it, but it's not going to. You're only drawing 2 tokens. You're not going to do enough damage to smash anything anyway to gain any tokens.
It doesn't super matter where you hit him.
No, not for this attack. If you're doing
Okay.
the potential for 3 or more, you'd definitely declare what area you wanted to.
So 3 or more is how these come into play?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Got it.
So what happens is, for every 3 that you claim in one attack, you break a little bit of the monster off as resources. If we ever clear one of those areas completely, printed underneath it as a unique part of the monster. So we hit it enough in the back,
Okay.
we'll cut his tail off. We hit him in the face, we'll take a tusk home with us.
And you say for every 3, is that so? It's doing 6 damage at once takes 2 pieces, or is it just 3 or more?
No. If you take 6, so if you manage to draw 6 tokens from the bag, first of all, you're very lucky if you haven't triggered anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would claim 2 and that. So I did actually, at the maximum I've seen is I've seen 11 damage, but I've seen 3 get taken in the 1 attack, which is very risky, but it worked. So Evan, if you want to draw 2 from his wound bag,
Okay.
and then you can basically decide as they come out. So this one, it's worth 2 damage to smash it. So you could either smash it, or you could leave it to the side and then draw another token. So the next person has to smash it, but at least it gets us a bit more visibility into what's in the bag.
So it probably doesn't super matter.
Let's keep it out, so we use the ability and then draw another token out the bag, and then we'll see what that is. Right. So that one's blood, so you can claim that one, and it just means that the next person to attack it has to break through the armor token first.
So the first damage. So I spent a damage.
So we're not damaging that at all. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is it. So you now just discard all those cards.
Okay.
And the only person that would be left to attack, if anyone, would be Sasha with Victoria. But I get the feeling that she doesn't want to do that this turn.
Yeah, I don't have any ranged attacks, so I can't.
Well, right. I'm just going to move a little bit. I don't think I'm going to do any more attacks just now. And I'm going to leave it at that. Does anyone want to activate any other cards before the monster does his thing?
So like once the monster starts doing their thing, we can only do stuff on the bottom.
That's right. Yep.
And is there like responses, or like if the monster's about to do something, do we play something, or we have to play things before the monster does things?
No. So you react to the monster. So if he turns around and does the damage, so because your cards either block damage or they gift defense to other people, basically once he turns around to do the damage, we have to decide before we actually start drawing the damage, but you can say, right, I'm going to spend these 2 cards to bolster your defense. And then they decide if they're playing any cards. You could basically negate damage right down to 0, so it doesn't do anything with enough defense.
And so like cards like the counterattack, I would be playing this when I'm attacked? Or
you can do it as either with that one. So you could either play it anytime just to get the 1 counter into your bag. But yes, you could also play that whilst taking the damage as well. So when you're using it, defensively, you can use it either for the shield, the defense, the one defense. You can use it for the ability, or in this case, you can use it for both. So you trigger both. You get one less damage and also get a counter into your bag.
And what does amplified mean?
So amplified just means that you can spend more cards from your hand to gain the ability. So for every other card you discard, you'll get another.
Oh, that can be done
counter
multiple
in your
times.
bag. Yeah.
Got it. And so the available health buffs, these are a limited resource. What is the level 1, level 2? Is that a campaign thing?
That's a campaign thing, yeah.
Got
So
it.
when we use them, so basically when we draw them as damage and then we activate them, they go back on our boards ready to be buffed back in again. So they're never removed from the game, but just if you play an ability, like you could only amplify up to, what is it, 3 you have in your pile. So there's no point in amplifying more than twice, basically, for that ability.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything else I want to do before.
We'll see what he does then. So the start of the monster phase, the rage counter always goes up by 1, and as long as it's not at 6, then we draw from his basic deck. So this is the ability that's going to trigger. Oh, he's doing a nice area of effect, however, it's only going to affect Mike. So this is shove. You'd attack all adjacent threats. Threat means that you are standing. We can be knocked down. Warden means anyone, whether we're standing or not. But this one, he's only interested in people that are standing next to him. So what he's going to do to you, Mike, is he's going to do 4 damage. You left no cards, so you can't defend yourself. However, if you ask Sasha very nicely.
Yeah, I'll do the shield ally and just trade places.
Your true friend.
And so when I do that, I'm getting the one?
You're gaining the 1 from the card, and you also have your natural 1 from your shield. So you're already down to 2 damage. But you can, if you want, discard more cards with that little grey defense symbol to reduce the damage even more.
But I wouldn't be getting the abilities of the other cards that I'm reducing the damage by more?
You would, if it has an ability.
Okay.
So like the counter attack, you could reduce the damage by a further 1 and still put a token in your bag as well.
Just a sec. I guess I will. So I currently have a defensive 2, and I'm playing more to boost it more.
If you want, yeah.
I'll do this one. And then.
So you trigger them as you're going, so you can put the counter in your bag right now.
Okay. Got it.
And you can also choose to amplify that ability if you wanted to put more in.
I'm just gonna go wild just because I want to see how interesting it is.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, I will discard 2 cards to amplify it twice. And then I will also get so I can use this for myself, or I can give another warden.
Yes, you could do both. So if 2 of us were taking damage,
then it would be for both. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll also just use this.
Cool. So Artoria is doing what Artoria does best, basically just negated that whole attack. So there are another couple of symbols on the card. I'll run through these while we're here.
Okay.
So the second symbol is this. Any of the black ones are statuses. and the game runs slightly different with statuses compared to anything else you might have played. Statuses don't affect you straight away. What will happen is this little dazed token is going to go into your health bag, so potentially it'll affect you later on if you're taking damage.
So,
Now,
sorry, go continue.
Yeah, stick it in your bag.
Great.
And the beauty of the system is that if you keep doing exactly what you're doing, blocking damage, doesn't matter how much nasty stuff you put in there, you'll never have to deal with it. But if you overload it and then take damage, it might kind of cascade. But what that ability does when you pull it out is that you would discard a card from your hand. If you didn't have any, then you would discard a card from your draw, your action deck. So not the nastiest when it comes out, but it doesn't count as damage. So when you're drawing it out of your track, you basically just throw away a card. So the next symbol on here then is push, and that would be push you 3. If you notice, the base has little arrows on it, and this would be the direction it pushed. However, with your shield ally ability on it, it did have the symbol that basically negated push and knockdown on it.
I mean, before we resolve this bottom part, would Sasha have been able to use his special ability before the bottom half?
So she'll do that basically once we've finished resolving this. Then yeah, she'll be able to activate that ability.
Okay, so you resolve the whole card, and then
yeah, and then we'll activate the ability. So we don't need to worry about push, but the last symbol is basically discard a card from your action deck. So a little flamey card on fire. So you just have to take one from your draw deck and stick it straight into your.
Got it. Just right into my discard. Okay.
Now the monster is going to run away, but we'll use your block bash basically just to stab it quickly before it disappears. So your ability basically, when you use your shield to reduce damage, then you counter to the value of your shield. So basically, shield blocks 1 damage, so you're going to draw. Actually, doesn't count. We've got this token here. You would draw 1 from the bag, but that is the token you draw, and you can't claim it.
Is there anything with the weak spot?
Just less damage.
Got it.
Yeah, less armor. Sorry.
Okay, so nothing happens.
So so you can't block bash him, but the last thing he does on the card is he moves forward 5 spaces, and then this card just goes into discard pile.
So you may counter.
Is it possible for him to block bash this monster?
If that had been blood, or if that token wasn't there, then yeah, he could have block bashed it for 1. When you counter his armor, you don't count that. It's basically just straight from the bag.
Okay.
That's kind of beauty of the counter attacks, and yeah, sometimes a good way to claim.
Get through armor. So if this was in the bag and I drew this out, it would just go back in the bag?
That's right, yeah. But if you'd managed to draw blood, then you would keep it. Now, if you'd increased the counter, so say you'd drawn counter tokens when taking damage, and you drew like 3, for instance, you put 3 in your bag. You drew 3, you're going to do 3 damage to the monster. But what you do is you draw 3 tokens out, and then you could decide which, if any, of those tokens you could claim. So if you're only doing a counter attack of 1, like we've seen there, it's kind of ineffectual. But if you'd done a counter attack worth 2, you draw 2 tokens, and then you'd have the option then of either claiming something like the armor token, which is worth 2, or blood, if there was a blood there, or whatever.
Got it.
Is his
So
ability? does his ability happen?
That's what we were
It
just
it
doing.
did, but
Oh.
it's ineffectual because we've got an armor token out. This kind of just shows us what's coming out, and he's not doing enough damage to break it, unfortunately.
Oh.
So the armor value of the shield, I think what was a little confusing to me about this initially is that this is a shield, but this symbol is also a shield. And so when it was saying equal to the value of the shield, I was reading that as being the amount of shield symbols I had, which is my block, which was 4.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just
this card. It's the value of this card, which the value of this card is 1.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, it doesn't have anything to do with the icons.
No.
It's just the value of his physical shield itself.
Okay, got it.
So that is his turn over. So the first thing you can do is, if you do have any cards left, you guys have went gung-ho and burnt everything, you would get to the option to discard any cards first, but then you would draw back up to 5.
Wait, I guess I missed really quickly. What is its? Oh, its movement is here, 5.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So his movement is 5. The 5 also represents basically his viewing range as well. So if you imagine a cone of vision coming out from these 2 points, then this is kind of who you would see within kind of 5 hexes of him.
What did the B mean on his card?
Just a basic card. So you've got 3 decks. You've got the basic deck, reaction, and rage.
Oh, that's just how you separate out the decks at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So as you notice, the basic ones tend to have less symbols on them and lower numbers. And as we go up the decks, they get slightly nastier.
Well, we did it. We made the beast run away, so mission accomplished.
That's a win.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Game over.
And so we are just drawing back to our 5 and
so draw
again.
back up to 5. Yep. And now we are in a bit of an awkward position because if we want to move, it's basically going to cost us a lot of cards probably to attack him. So it's whether it's worth it or maybe we wait and see if he'll probably come back our way as well.
I could just rest up, get my cards back. Right?
You can do, yep. You can choose to rest any turn that you want.
Make him come to me. I'm just gonna take a nap.
Yeah, but every time he takes a turn, his rage is gonna go up. So if he doesn't run our direction,
yeah, he's still getting annoyed.
Well, I think there's a decent number of the cards that make him target specific people, which that makes him turn, right?
Yeah, the majority of cards will target somebody. If we can't fulfill the targeting requirements for whatever reason, if you notice on his stat sheet, he does have a little question mark at the bottom. Basically, if he can't target anyone for whatever reason, then he's going to move 6 hexes in a random direction, and he'll knock over anyone that he runs over while he's doing that.
Sweet. I mean, so I sort of want to just rest. Does anyone else have any ideas or plans?
I can discard cards before my turn, right?
What does resting do?
You get your discard shuffled back into your deck.
Oh, I don't need to do that.
I mean, but like for me, it's like I don't feel like I can do much else that is valuable right now. So might as well. That's just my perspective.
What I would say is, while resting, although you can keep cards in your hand to block damage, when it comes to the start of your next turn, any cards that you've kept in your hand, they start your discard pile fresh. So you draw fresh 5. So what it means is, if you're keeping cards back for defense, when you rest, you would not get a full deck back. If that makes sense.
Got it. So, but I could just get rid of all my cards and then I would get my stuff back.
Yeah, you could totally refresh your deck, or if you kept 5 cards back but then didn't take any damage, they would be 5 cards would go straight to discard and start your next turn, and then you draw an extra 5. So
got it. I guess I don't know what his cards would be like, but I feel maybe
I feel
this
like
is wrong.
it makes
but I feel
sense.
safe.
I mean,
But,
I'm fine with resting.
we just did 1 hit and then we're gonna take 5. I want to take 5.
Well, I would say that it makes more sense to rest while he's far away rather than being right in front of him, and then you realize you ran out of cards and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, that's my main thing is I have 4 cards left after this round. I don't want to spend my cards doing something else and not have cards for.
But the question is, what does Creve want to do? Because Creve might decide he's just going to run up and hit it right now. So
yeah, you do have to role play this. It's not there's only so much strategy that you can do.
So I stacked my discard pile with all of my 2 value attacks. And I have a card that can do 3 times the attack value of the top card of my draw deck. So if I rest now, my next attack has a higher potential to be large.
But you won't get to keep those cards if you rest.
Yeah.
So you might not get it in your next 5.
Yeah, so if you're still in play, you'd keep the cards from turn to turn, but if you rest, then you discard that hand and start for a fresh hand.
You can't use resting to sculpt your hand.
Okay. And that's even if I run out of cards, correct?
So you can run right down to the wire with resting. The only time where you're forced to rest is if you start your turn with no action deck to draw from. Even if you only have an action deck of 1, you would draw that card, and technically you could still play that turn with that 1 card, but you have the option at that point to rest, or next turn you definitely have to. Anything in your hand you wouldn't use if you were resting.
And no matter what, my hand goes away.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna rest.
So if you want, I mean, I've got a ranged attack. I've got a bow. Now, he doesn't like getting shot with a bow, so it does put his rage up. But I have a boost ability, which if you wanted, I could activate. And for every token claimed, I would allow you to gain 2 cards back from your discard pile.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm down to just wait for it to come back to us, but I'm down for what other people want.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give us a couple buffs. Give you guys a buff. Everybody's within 4 of me.
Oh, instead of resting?
Yeah, so I'll use Warcry. So
it is literally the only nice thing you do for anyone else in this whole game.
Wait, is that allies or is that?
I don't have any more of those tokens, so it doesn't do anything for me.
Okay. Including me. All right, so everyone gets a counter except for Sasha.
Thank you.
Then I might as well use reflexes. Let's see if I can do this right. Reflexes, my dodge goes in my bag. Then that puts me at 3.
So if I'm resting, I get to remove the status from my bag?
Yeah, so when you rest, you have the option of either healing 2 damage or removing a status from your bag. Now, we're allowed to know what's in our bags at any time. You're allowed to look and see. So you have 1 token on its own you can deal with. It's when they mount up. I'll just drop it. I'll just delete it.
What's this little symbol in the bottom right of my cards? Like on might.
So that's just solo. So basically, when you play solo, you would take out all the cards with that symbol from all 4 decks and make a mega deck.
Got it.
Did you say something about putting something in my bag?
Yeah, put a counter attack in your bag.
Okay.
All right, and then
Well,
I am going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use this card to move that 4th.
Interesting. Why 4? Why not 5? You can get an extra 1.
Because doesn't Sasha have like range 3 on a lot of his abilities? I thought.
Hmm.
Sasha's resting, so Sasha can't help you
I'm
at
not going to
all.
be doing anything this turn.
Oh, yeah, I might as well move 5.
Oh, you're going in. Okay. Well,
Are you planning to attack, or are you just basically going to absorb most likely whatever hits coming their way?
you're just
I
running in to get hit.
Well, I mean, I have both of my dodges. I have counter
Yeah, and
attack.
Well,
a good play. So
And then I needed to discard that card so that I could draw 3 and then use dig deep at the start of my next turn, which will put one of my 2s onto my deck. It'll be the only card in my deck, and then I can use my.
So the good thing with dig deep is if it does target you, you can actually spend it to reduce the damage by 1, but also trigger that ability. So you could get 3 of the cards back and reduce the damage as well.
I'm cool for the whole role playing thing, but this does seem like a bad idea. But yeah, just because now it's not going to come back over to us. It's just going to go hit you, most likely.
Yeah, very most likely.
And I can't do anything to help you, and I'll have a hard time getting over. I'll have to spend all my movement next turn getting over there.
Yeah,
We'll
it'll be
see.
fun.
Yeah.
Are you going for it? Are you committed?
Yep, I'm committed.
Right. Okay, well, if you want to put these 2 cards into your discard pile then that you've used, and so I'm sitting with a heal in my hand. I'm just going to stay back, and we'll just see how this plays out. Does anyone else want to play any more abilities?
so I might as well move up, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, most of this guy in particular, he does tend to attack who's closest, but that is not always the case. So it does have different targeting parameters. It could be closest, could be furthest, could be the last one to hurt him. It could be the person that's hurting the most. It could be the person that's most armored or with the least health. There's all different kind of targeting criteria. This guy is a bit more kind of straightforward, just with the kind of the first fight. Let's have a look and see what you've got, Evan.
Oh, should I do something else too?
Probably want to kind of stay back just now, and we'll see how this plays out. Now, this card here with the soothe on it is good for reducing his rage back down.
Right.
But he's only at rage 1 just now, so
Right.
it's probably not worth using this turn. We'll just see how angry he gets after whacking Creve in the face. Right, are we all finished then? See,
I think so.
what this. Right, so first thing then is his rage goes up by 1, and then we reveal one of his cards. right? So closest warden in view, there's nobody in view, so we then go to the next one, which is closest warden, which, surprise, surprise, happens to be Creve. Right, so basically what we'll do, so I'll just move that.
What is it? Just as long as he's adjacent with one pointing at me?
Yeah, as long as
Okay.
we basically turn him and get him kind of, if we can get him face to face directly like that, however, like he'd still attack you from there, kind of thing, as
So
long as you're
how do you
in
know
that
which one
cone.
he chooses?
So he would move by the shortest path. So with that one, it just happened to be that head on was the
Okay.
shortest path.
So it was right here, and I count this as being 1, 2, and 1, 2. How
Was he that far over?
I thought it was like right there.
That looks right.
It was like that, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, you could
But-
basically choose
But
if you had
like,
the option.
yeah, these two spots are the same distance. Is it player choice, or is there like a order for how it?
No,
does
it's player choice. So basically, you would turn round to face the target first of all, and then you'd basically move. So you could either do that, that one, or you could do that if you wanted. I know that one actually wouldn't be. It'd have to be that one. Keep them in the cone of vision. Right, so it's just straight up 4 damage you're going to take to the face.
Yep. So I just draw 4.
So yeah, unless you're using any of your cards to block any of it, then you draw 4 from the bag and then just put them on your track.
Counter. And then my special ability. Can I do this after I see all 4, or do I have to do it?
Yeah, you draw them all out.
Okay.
Oh well, it's actually it's when it's drawn. You don't need to worry. This is more for statuses, basically. Avoiding nasty statuses.
Yep. Okay.
So now with the green tokens, you could resolve them in any order. So you could either counter attack them. Oh, actually, you want to put that block back in your bag and draw another, because the block at the back is completely useless. It's not blocking anything.
Okay, so I can't resolve them in any order. So it's not like.
So that one, yeah, so it's been revealed. So you've revealed it, so put it back into the bag and draw another one.
Maybe need to shuffle? Or is it
Yeah,
automatically?
does the bag need to shuffle?
It should be auto shuffle, but go one more for luck. Yeah,
There we go.
I've just been really unlucky and just drew. But yeah, you do get to counter it, and the counter is equal to the weapons damage. So you're going to do a counter for 2. Now we already have 1 block token out, so you just draw another token out of his bag, and then you could decide which ones, if any, you were going to claim.
Oh, not the armor there.
So you could claim the armor, but you can draw the other one out and may as well play it properly. So luckily, when you're countering, we don't trigger anything. So yeah, you can use your 2 damage to claim that one. If you're doing 3 damage, you could have claimed that, but yeah, take the shield away and put the reaction back in the bag. So for anyone that's tempted, you're not allowed to peek at the monster's bag. It has 5 random tokens in there, so we never know. We can't game it exactly. There's the potential for 1 extra of each of the nasty ones. So we don't know until we draw the extra one whether it was in there or not. So anyway, that's his turn. We now get to discard any from our hand if we want, and then draw back up to 5. So Mike, if you wanted to, I do have a heal in my hand. I could come. How many did you draw? 3 health.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him and run away. I don't know how
Okay.
much effect that run will have, but
I will heal you before you do that then. So I'm going to play my heal card then, and so you get to place 3 health tokens back into your bag. I can amplify it, but there's no need. You've not taken enough damage yet, so you might want to put them in separately, or else they'll probably come out as a pile.
Is there any disadvantage to attacking it from the front?
No.
Got it.
Other than you want to claim one of the tokens from the front. Let's just search this.
So, Mike, you don't have to run. I could catapult you away if we wanted to do that. The other option is I think I could catapult you over him, and then you could attack it from behind.
What is attacking from behind?
Oh, you're.
oh
What?
yeah, I mean if we can do that.
So something that is handy with catapult is if Creve happened to have, say, charge in his hand, then technically you could catapult away, and then you'd use your movement to get back in, but you can do like extra nasty charges if you're positioned in the right way.
Well, but I could like catapult him past, and then he could charge into the weak spot.
Right? Yeah, but I guess how is charge different than if I were just adjacent to him and then played multiple cards to amplify? Because I would just
it just depends on the ability that you want to trigger.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, charge can be good. I've seen a 13 space charge before.
What is charging?
So charge, you gain 1 damage for every hex between you and the monster. So technically a card is worth 1 damage, but you get 2 movement from the card. So therefore, if you're charging, potentially you can do more damage with a charge.
Yeah. So you just have like infinite movement with charge?
No, you still have to resolve the movement in the same way. So you still have to spend the cards to move.
But it's like 3 extra free attack because you have 3 movement, and then you can pay extra cards to increase that movement.
Yeah, so it's done prior to movement. So what you're not allowed to do is you're not allowed to spend cards to move away and then charge. That's why the catapult is better for doing it.
Yeah,
if that's what he wants to activate.
I'll just
might have other ideas.
And then my catapult, turn this card to its side. When played, any warden adjacent at any point may move up to 6 hexes from my position once, ignoring all terrain and move restrictions. You continue moving from a new position, discard it, end of warden phase. So basically I can like launch you 6 this way, and then you can run 3 into the weak spot with your charge.
Now, one thing I would say,
I'm not going to charge.
So catapult affects all of us, so we can all technically catapult off it. Evan's shadow special ability is that the armor is treated as 0 when she's in the weak spot. So actually Evan could be catapulted into the weak spot, and it would negate. The armor would be. I
am fine attacking from the front, so
you'll consistently whack it no matter where you are. So.
So wait, the ignoring armor is just ignoring all armor?
All armor, as long as she's in that spot. So although his armor
got it. As long as in that weak spot.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Is it
That's a
normally
special
weaker
ability.
in some other way?
So the weak spot reduces it down by 1 for all of us, but it reduces
So
it down
by 2
infinitely for you.
How do you know it reduces it by 1?
It's just the rules.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The
It's
red
red.
spot.
Red spot, -1. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool.
well, catapult is available for anyone to use it. moving
Anybody can use it?
spaces.
Only
All of
one?
us can use it. No, all of us can use it.
But
So
that,
she's got a Captain America's
Yeah, I'll go
all over
back
the
there.
place.
that'll leave Sasha where he's at, though, right? He doesn't have a chance to move.
Up to 6 hexes from your position.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind
So
either way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's up to 6,
Yeah,
so you don't have
you
to.
can move right into there
Yeah,
if you
but
want.
I'll charge.
You know, charge is a card. You have
Oh, it's a
that
card?
says
Oh,
charge?
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was an ability. Okay. Well, I don't have charge. I'm not going to
Yeah, so
charge. I mean, I could still move my 3 anyway, right?
Yeah, but if
So-
you land
could
here,
stab
then you
and
can
then-
attack and then move.
Oh, I see. I
yeah,
can
and then
move
someone
after.
else can ping into it. We could all take turns.
Okay, I'm going to attack from behind with my sword.
Mhm.
For
Right,
1,
so
2, 3, 4, 5.
So you can put the card you can still use this card if you wanted to increase the attack by 1. If it doesn't have an attack value, you can still use it in there. But all you have to do is just decide which actual top ability you're going to trigger.
Wait, you're saying something about this card plan?
Yeah, you can use any card for a basic 1 damage, so you can still add that into the attack if you wanted to.
Wait, it doesn't have the... Wait, what's this symbol mean then?
So that symbol means the card itself is an attack. But yeah, you can place this card into it if you wanted to boost it further.
I think I'm missing what you're saying. What's the difference between these?
So this card is an attack ability, so you have to use that as an attack. This card isn't, but you can still use it to add extra 1 damage to an attack.
I thought I was using my sword to attack.
I hear what you're saying, Evan, and I think so this symbol is sort of saying 2 things on this
Okay.
card, and I feel like this could also have a 1 in the corner, because this card could also be used as a 1 power thing. It can't be played as the top card that actually has an ability for an attack, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Whatever card is on
can
top
be
is
used.
the ability is happening for the attack, but this one cannot be played as the top card for the attack, but it can still be.
So the
tucked
rest of
under.
these cards did not need to have this symbol in order to add to it.
Correct.
No, but they need to have that symbol in order to activate the special text.
Got it. So what does this plus symbol mean?
So if it's square, it's usually card related. So this one, draw a card from your action deck, and then you also get to go through your action deck and seed your next hand with a card as well.
I see. Okay, so I'll just make it. Well, maybe I'll subtract his rage by 2, or it can just stay in my hand, right?
You can keep it. So yeah, so just now your damage is currently sitting at 5, which is pretty chunky anyway. All you have to do is decide which of the actual abilities you're going to
I put
trigger.
stun on. I put stun on.
Stun.
Top.
We're going for that,
Yeah.
right? So 5 tokens from the bag then, and then as you're drawing them, you have to decide which one you're stunning.
Okay.
Right. So
1,
if you
2, 3. I'm stunning that one.
okay, so that's 3 damage. You still got another 2 to draw.
Nope, should have done that one.
Oh. Right. So unfortunately,
Because that one
you
takes
can't.
3, right?
Yeah, but this one cancels all other ones. You keep that out. So basically, what we're going to do is, unfortunately, you're not going to do any more damage. His rage is going to go up, and he's going to do a rage attack against you.
Oh, like an
Unfortunately,
immediate attack.
yeah. So you do get to claim those 3 tokens. So you would at least break a little bit off. I don't know if you want to take that as a consolation prize, but we'll have and see what he does. Right. So the first thing is, when we draw one of these tokens out, he's always going to turn to face the person that attacks him. The targeting, we ignore any kind of targeting on the card itself. He's always going to attack the person that stabbed him. But
Okay, so he's attacking me at +2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we then draw a basic card. So luckily, it's just a bite, but it's 6 damage
6. Okay.
that he's going to do to you.
So I just draw these out.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll do another 2 damage to him.
Yep, so you get to draw 2 tokens from the bag because you're doing 2 damage.
Okay.
Let's find out, worry about that yet. Just draw the other one out
Okay.
first. Right, so this one is worth 3, so there's nothing we can do about that. There's no way of claiming that one, but you can claim the blood one at least. So
on the does the counterattack work different than normal damage?
yeah.
Okay.
So basically, just
normally you pull them out one at a time rather than pulling out all of them and then deciding how to.
Yeah, for the counterattack, you take out as many as the damage that you're doing.
Okay. So obviously I do that because that's what I can do.
And then the other one goes back in the bag, right?
Yeah, another one will go back in the bag, ready for somebody else to do something. But the good thing is we've kind of opened up the weak spot.
So yeah, Sasha, you used all your movement, right?
Yes.
Right. So there's no way for me to get to the weak spot.
You could spend a card, Sasha, to move 2 hexes if you wanted.
I'll also reduce his rage by 3.
I can discard cards to move after I've done my movement. For some reason, I thought I could only move once.
You can discard cards at any time to gain more movement. So you can still spend a card at this point to move 2. The only thing you can't do is you can't split that movement that you gain from it.
Yeah, it's 1 damage extra, so I don't know if it's worth it, but
yeah, I mean, I guess I want to keep myself for protecting.
Either way, I'm going to use this card to choose a card from my discard pile to place into my active deck.
You are running low on cards.
Oh yeah, that was the plan.
So if you want, I've got my boost ability, which will allow you to gain more cards back, if you would like that. Saves you resting or running with just 1 card.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna attack and then move 3, and then I move 3 behind our tank.
Well, you can still use the catapult.
Yeah, you've not used it yet, so you could attack and then catapult 6 away.
Oh, I forgot I could have moved away, huh?
I mean, you can, yeah.
You still can, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just attack and catapult, and then I'll rest and get everything back because I'm gonna blow everything right here.
So on your next turn, you'd be resting.
Yes.
Got it.
Well, yeah. Next turn you have the choice of resting because you still have 1 card to draw.
I'm getting rid of that card because I'm gonna use my
All right.
discard the top card of my deck. multiplies it by 3.
Oh, strangely enough, you
Yep.
managed to set up with a strong attack.
Now we'll just drop those.
9.
So 2 breaks through the armor. 6 plus 3 is 9.
You put 4 cards in, so you still got might's got 1 on it as well. So you're doing 10.
Oh, so 10.
Oh yeah, 10.
So
I missed the one from might.
reaction token.
So reaction token, you can either take this on the chin, and then if you're still standing, you can keep drawing, or you can spend 3 of your damage to break through, but you can only break through 1 reaction per attack. Still worth doing.
Okay, so I still have 7 left.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we'll do that.
Oh, right.
All right,
So
I have to take this one.
So we have to take this one on the chin. However, as long as you're still capable after this card, then you can keep going. Just have to wait and see what he does.
I also have shield ally, so I could take the hits. Right.
Right, now this one, if you notice up the top right-hand corner, it's got a little roundabout symbol. This is a recurring card, so what this means is it won't draw a fresh card. It'll basically continue triggering this until we get rid of the card. And the way to get rid of this card is to trigger another reaction or rage. So basically what he's done is he's bit your arm, he's kind of ragdolling you about, and he's going to keep doing that every turn until we whack him enough times that he drops you.
All right. So I take 5 damage from this.
Well, but I could like jump in there, which I think I'm probably gonna do. Swap spots with you. And then I have 2 defense currently.
Yes, you get 2. Attack does 5.
And wait, is there special effects on here?
And so if you notice the second symbol, it means that dodge doesn't work on this
so
attack.
dodge doesn't work.
And then the last one is a status. We don't need to worry about that just now. But basically that is additional damage when it's drawn out the bag.
And then the bottom stuff is...
It's only when he drops you.
Oh, that's only if you die. Got it.
Yeah, so basically once we remove this card, he's then going to launch you 6 spaces away and knock you over.
Okay. So I guess I'm just doing this and having 2 against the 5, so I draw 3.
Yep, so take 3 damage. Hopefully, I don't know if you've got dodge in your bag yet, but...
Counterattack, and a hit.
Cool. So counterattack then, we're going to draw 2 tokens out the bag. So first of all, these are claimed by Mike it was. So
And does
My
Mike
attack
still have damage left, or is his damage over when it does this counterattack thing?
So Mike's still going to be capable at the end of it, because Sasha's now jumped in to take the arm grab for it. So Mike can keep hitting basically once. Well, she's done. It doesn't move it, so Mike's still next to it, and he's not incapacitated in any way. So yeah, he'll still be able to go. But yeah, so draw 2 out for the counter attacks. Right.
And
so
I just take this one. And
you
this
take
one
that one, and that one goes back in. Yep. Right. So Mike, I hope you are very grateful to Sasha for doing this for you. Does increase his rage by 1. But this will sit on top of the deck to remind us not to draw any fresh ones. But you've done 4 damage out of your 10, was it? Oof.
Yep.
Keep going. Let's hope there's nothing else nasty in there. Ah. Right, so that one, we're definitely not drawing any more after it. But first of all, we have triggered rage. We're going to draw a rage card. So the arm grab, basically, it's now triggering the ability at the bottom. You're knocked over just now, Sasha. What that means is that you will stand up in your turn. You
So
have to forfeit.
Can I do this?
Not for this one because it's not the attack. It's just a reaction off the back of it. But yeah, normally you would be able to. But I'll put an exhausted token in your bag. What that one does is that when you reveal that out, any buffs that you have already revealed flip over and won't activate. So we want to try and keep them out of our bag as much as possible. Anyway, that's that card gone. Now, because we're triggering rage, everything in the discard pile is shuffled back into the basic deck. So the other nasty cards we've already seen are now in there. But now what we do is we draw a fresh rage one. And we see what he's going to do now. So we ignore the top half, but it would be Creve anyway. So it's a battering ram right to your face. So you're going to take 5 damage, Mike, but it negates dodge on this one. So if you reveal any dodge tokens, you have to flip them over.
You said 5 damage. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
So 4 and 1 counter.
Yeah. So your counter's worth 2 because that's how much damage that your attack does. But yeah, if you want to draw 2 tokens out, and then we'll see if we can steal any of them. Oh, there you go. You can take both. Right. So he is going to put an exhaust into your bag. Right, so that's in there, and then what he's going to do is he's going to push you 4 spaces and knock you down.
I wanted to do that anyway.
So when you're knocked down, you forfeit your 3 movement to stand up, but the issue with being knocked down is that you have to activate after all the standing players have finished all the stuff they want to do. If you take damage while you're on the ground, your buffs are useless.
If I'm resting next turn, does it matter if I'm laying down or not for the purpose of resting?
No. You'll still stand up automatically. Every turn, so yeah, you won't stay on the deck. You won't take a literal dirt nap.
I should probably at the end of this, I should probably use my movement to stand up anyway, though. Just in case.
And did you forfeit some of your damage because you drew the rage token thing?
Yeah, so the rage cancels any other damage that would have been done. So yeah, unfortunately, because you can't avoid it, it basically negates everything else.
But then there were some counterattacks that brought out 2 more.
So it cancels any further damage, and he does a rage attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
But luckily, there's only, if you look at the board, it gives you an indication of what's in the bag. So there are only.
We've already hit both of those.
We've already hit both. There is the potential with
there's
the
5
random
of random. Okay.
that there might be 1. There'll never be more than 1 extra one in there because he's only level 1. But we won't know unless we draw it. So you can't math it out completely. However, it's we have more information.
How do you seed the random ones?
You don't. So the way that they are selected is that you would take the number of blood equal to the number of random tokens. So in this case, it would be 5 blood, and then there'd be 1 of every other type that's in use. So I'd have 5 blood, I'd have a rage, a reaction, and a armor, and they'd be shuffled, and 5 of them would go into the bag. So you could potentially have 5 extra
I
blood.
see.
You could have 3 nasty ones and 2 blood, or anywhere in between.
I see.
I kind of don't want to. I had all these ideas for doing some nice, cool stuff, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, we're not very close anymore.
Who is planning on resting?
Me?
So Mike's Mike
sure.
doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Sasha, would you like to get some cards back?
I have 8 cards in my discard pile.
10. Right, let's see. So I'm going to move round to spot number 5 then, and I'm going to attack it. Right, I'm just going to throw everything at it. Right, so I'm going to do 5 damage minus these 2 armors. I'm going to do 3 pulls, but I'm going to activate the boost ability. So for every token that I claim, you're going to get 2 random cards from your discard pile and put them back into the bottom of your action deck.
Who's that?
So I think Sasha's the worst. Oh no, actually, I'll maybe do it on Evan. Evan's got 10 in his discard.
My draw piles.
Yeah, you're all right. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah,
cool.
Evan, I'll do it on you.
Cool.
Right.
So for every claimed token, I get 2
Yeah.
back. Cool.
So hopefully I draw 3, and you can maybe get 6 cards back, but we'll see what happens. Oh, so his rage is going to go up by 1. I'm not going to trigger this. I'm going to spend all 3 of my damage to stop it from happening. But Evan, you can at least take 1 card back. So just shuffle it and then just.
Oh, shuffle.
Yeah, shuffle it and then stick that into your.
Right on top, or just shuffle?
Shuffle it in.
And now you can deduce which one went in there.
If I search through it.
Yeah, you're allowed to look at your discard pile so you can work it out.
It's okay.
And
that's me done.
I have some cards left, but I'm knocked down. So
yeah, knocked down. So may as well keep them from next turn.
Did you already use your movement, Sasha?
I hadn't.
You'd moved in and then activated your shield.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the catapult.
I rested last turn, and so I had to move to get it into position.
Yeah, so the good news is that it tends to target threats more than chances of targeting one used to are pretty slim. But I'll probably jinx us by saying that. So everyone happy then? We'll let him do his thing. So
I can stand up now by forfeiting my movement?
Yeah, if you've not already used it, yep.
Whoa.
That was a very flourished standing up.
Couple of backflips.
If you're going to do it in style. Right, so let's see what he's going to do. Remember, some of the rage and reaction cards have now been kind of shuffled into his deck, so we might start seeing some nasty stuff coming out here, but luckily it's just a bite. So he's going to go for the closest warden in view. Unfortunately, it is. Shouldn't have stood up. But actually, it would have still eaten you anyway. This one, because it's warden, it would have still went for you. But yeah, Mike, you're going to take another 4 damage. So with your ability, if you want, you're going to block the next damage that comes out because of where your block is in the order, or you could put the block back into the bag, hoping to make it more effective in a later draw. It's up to you, but you've got 4 damage to take. So you can return it to the bag with your ability, or you can just leave it out. It's up to you.
So, I mean, right now it's technically blocking 2 damage.
It'll block whatever comes out after it, so you've only got 1 more damage to take.
Okay, so what if I put a health back in the bag and then drew? That would probably be the best, right?
Yeah, so you'd have to do it as you were drawing it out, but yeah. How
much health do I have here? I have 4 health, 2 damage here. I have 8. Yeah, I'm just gonna let the armor do its job.
Cool. So just draw your final token then out the bag. Right. So you can activate the buffs in any order. So if you wanted, you could counter attack and then activate the block, which would block nothing. Or you can put the counter back into your bag by activating the block.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And then the block just goes back onto your board with the potential to be buffed again.
I just pulled another one.
The drawing the block, is that what put the counterattack back, or
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you shouldn't have drawn another one after that block.
Yeah, you don't have to draw another one.
Okay.
He wasn't talking about using this ability. The armor token stops you from pulling out more stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
anything you draw out after the armor token goes back into the bag. So yeah, it was just whether you wanted to make it potentially more effective by drawing it out at a later date, but that's we're all sorted. Right, so that's him all done. So we get to draw back up. Mike, you're going to be resting this turn, so you get to either heal 2 or remove a status from your bag, but your deck, you basically just refresh that all. You're not drawn back up this turn, but you can get everything prepared.
Kat wants to know if there should be a whiskey drink, a vodka drink, a lager drink, or a cider drink before you get back up again.
I mean, you can't beat a bit of Chumbawamba, so all of them, all of the above. Oh, Dutch courage.
So I have to. I'm going after everyone else.
Yeah. So you have to stay knocked down for now. You have to wait till we've basically passed for you to do your thing. I do have a heal. Who's looking?
I'm healthy. I think our.
Probably me.
Yeah, you should probably in front of him. You should probably do Mike.
I can actually, if I work it out correctly, I could probably get both of yous. 3, right? What do I want to throw away? I'll throw away this for 2 movement. I'll throw away this for another 2, and I'll throw away this one for an extra 1. So I have a group heal, which allows me to heal adjacent wardens as well for 1, but I'll amplify it so that at least Mike, Sasha, and me can all heal 2.
Nice.
But I am out of cards. It's me done.
I can't.
So I'm done.
Until you
Mike's
guys
done.
Go,
so it's just Evan. Evan has to go before Sasha can do anything.
Okay. Oh, before Sasha. Oh, right, because he's upside down.
Yep.
He's in the upside down. So your studies are good for Oh, you've got predict. The predict card's pretty cool. So this allows you to scry the bag effectively. And you can also amplify it to view more tokens as well.
Reveal
I,
3.
I feel like there's
Yes.
also the possibility that just resting since you're sort of safely away. But obviously you do you.
Reveal 3. Display next to enemy's health in draw order. Why would I do that?
You get to see what's coming out the bag, so we would know then what the next, rather than drawing blind from the bag anymore, we would know the order, and therefore we could
I see.
make a plan based on what you reveal.
I see. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then I will. Wait. Look at the top 3. In studies, look at the 2 cards.
Maybe you can do both. You could study and you could
Okay,
predict.
I'm gonna predict. Moving forward 1. And then reveal 3 tokens. 1.
So you can amplify it as well if you wanted. You could put more
2,
cards in.
3. I will. To get this bonus that my guy has, that attack has to be a
In
melee
that,
attack.
yeah. Well, it has to be in that space. Yeah.
Can you? But you do melee attack if you're standing next to.
Yeah. But
Or you could throw knives, but there's no
yeah,
reason
but it's
to.
pointless.
Okay, got it. But you have to be
Use my stabbing
standing.
knife.
You have to be standing in that
In that
space.
hex, yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to. Actually. Discard. And move 2. Wait, no. I'm not going to discard that card. I'm going to discard this card to move 2.
Let's just stick these in. Yeah.
And then I will reduce his rage by 3.
Nice.
And then I will banish his fancy.
So these are the 2 cards
Yeah,
that are in his
this is
discard.
the fancy one. I'll banish that.
Yeah. Let's never see that ever again.
Yeah, because he gets to reshuffle those at some point, I assume. And then this is my only remaining card. And I will just place a card included in this attack on its side. You may use this opportunity once before discarding.
Yeah, so this card would allow you to activate both sections of some cards. But you're only putting 1 card in and the bottom half isn't useful. So you can still stab it if you want. But we know this is what's coming out. You would do, if you use that card, you do 2 damage just now. One for this and 1 for your sword.
Yeah.
So you'd claim that, but then you can't, you've not got enough to break that, so you'd just be claiming that 1 token.
And then can I just use this without discarding an extra card?
No, you always have to play a card in order to do something. So
I can't just attack stab for 1.
No.
without the card. Okay, in that case, I will discard this card to draw an extra one from the bag.
So there's just this. We already know this is what's coming out the bag. So you basically just claim that one token. Is what you do if you spend that card.
He's retroactively
Yeah.
amplifying.
Oh, right, sorry.
To draw one more. Is that
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah, go.
Okay, good to know.
Right, so we know that we can do basically 4 damage before we even get close to anything nasty.
And then I can't stab him for 1, so that's it.
Right, so we're all passed. So Sasha, you now get to do your thing. So you don't have your 3 movement anymore. However, you can still spend cards to move if you wanted, or you can just activate any abilities you want.
I mean, I feel like oh, I guess this card. Oh, I guess that does something now. So discarding a card moves 2?
Yeah.
Got it. I don't think I can really get into a good position with only 2 movement. So then I could discard 2 cards to get 4 movement.
Yep.
I can protect 1 person for 1 extra. Oh, I guess what's in here? That's right. Okay. Wait, what does taunt do? Range. Got it. I think I'm just gonna keep my cards and be a defense person.
Do your job. I'm the
Yeah.
worst guardian ever. Yeah, I just hit it all the time, and then everyone dies. And I wonder what happened. Right. So, are you finished then?
I guess so.
Cool. So, rage goes up by 1. There's a shove. So all adjacent threats. That's going to be 2 of you. It's Evan and Mike. It's going to do 4 damage to both of you.
I'll how do I want to do this? I think I'm going to
How you play favorites?
recall shield ally. I've discarded the top card of my deck. And then I'm going to swap places with Mike.
Mike, you do not know how lucky you are. How many times you've done? Is this what's 2nd, 3rd time?
And then I will give Evan
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll give you 1 defense, but this also gives me 1 defense.
The first thing I drew out of my bag is a dodge. That stops the rest, right?
So you still draw them just in case you have anything in there that would negate. But yeah, you only need to draw 3 because
you only need to draw 3.
Sasha was nice and defended you a little bit.
Okay.
But then so I have 1 defense, 2 defense. I mean, I think I'm just gonna play out cards. I'm gonna play out this, and discard this to get these 2 counterattacks in my bag, and then also defend with this. So I have 4 defense.
So you're taking no damage. Evan, what happens is you would activate your dodge first, so the other 2 get to place back in your bag, and then the dodge
goes
back onto your board for further buff usage.
And then I get a daze token.
So yep. So here's some days tokens. So unfortunately, Sasha, you don't get to avoid that on the card.
Son of a gun.
And then I get pushed back 3.
Yep.
And I don't because of my cards.
You're probably going to kind of wish that you wanted to in a little minute.
And then I get
But then it's
I
this
discard a card.
discard
Oh,
the top
'cause it,
card
like,
of your action deck.
Runs over us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So luckily, I mean, it's going to run over all 3 of us. This is not going to be pretty. So basically what he's going to do is he's going to go 1, 2, 3, all over all 3 of us. He's going to go this way, 4. He's going to stop there. You stay standing. Unfortunately, the 2 of us are knocked over. When we're ran over, we take 1 automatic damage from the bag. So you still take the damage, Sasha, but even if
hold
it's
up.
a buff, it
This
still
is-
goes straight on you.
What if I pull out a status?
Draw until it's either red or green, but the status is going to go back in.
So if I drew a counterattack,
It doesn't activate, you just put it on the board.
okay.
Ouch. I mean, I'm healthy, but I just don't like where we are.
I'm fine with it.
So that's
Don't
his
worry,
turn.
guys. I got him cornered. He's on the ropes.
As you get to draw 5.
I have to take a rest.
Yeah, if you don't have any cards to draw from, then you have to rest. But you do get to heal 2 as part of your rest action.
Is that just put 2 drops back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speed
So you don't
ropes.
draw up this turn, but you're ready for next turn. And unfortunately, it's Sasha. You have to carry us just now. We can't do anything until you've done everything you want to do.
I mean, I could just rest.
You could.
I mean, I have a strong defense in my hand. Like, I feel like I could rest and take a hit. I don't know.
I mean, you could just. What you could do is you could move round to the front so that it's kind of more likely to target you and just keep your whole hand.
Mm-hmm.
So not rest this turn, but keep
like,
it as a reactive.
What type of thing would make it not attack me? Like,
so if he was targeting perhaps the furthest threat or something like that, so he might
but
decide
if I was
over.
here, wouldn't he still not attack me then?
If it's furthest threat in view, then you would still be the furthest. Would still be it. But yeah,
so
if for
me wanting to get in, so basically getting in view would potentially make him attack me more.
Increases your chances.
But
Yeah.
the
So
disadvantage is, if I rest now, then I could be useful next turn. If I don't rest now, I'm not going to be useful next turn. And so I just sort of have to decide if it's better for me to be useful this turn or next turn.
Yeah.
If you're useful now,
like I still have some use now if I rest because I have defense cards in my hand.
We're gonna be super close to ending this next turn.
Okay.
I'm not making promises, but
famous last words.
I think I'm gonna try resting. I have a lot of defense in my hand. I feel like I can be useful in the sense that I have defense and I'm the closest thing to him. And then next turn, if I rest up, I could actually do something next turn. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm discarding these two. I might actually just discard more because I want it. I'll discard this as well because the cards I'm playing out would just be for their defense values, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you're resting, yep.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of health. I'm just gonna keep the strong defense just as a
We
slight.
are in a pretty healthy position
Yeah.
overall.
Okay.
Not jinxing it.
So this all goes back in here, and that was my turn. So now the fallen heroes can do their thing.
Yay. Mike, do you have a plan? Because I have a plan that I can get rid of these 2 tokens if it helps.
Yeah, so can I attack twice?
No, you can only attack once, but you can
Okay.
put any number of cards into that attack.
Yeah, so I guess if you were to get rid of the armor, because I can get rid of the armor, is there any way that you can get rid of the reaction?
I can only do a maximum of 2 damage, but I do have a stun, so I could stun that if you can clear all 3 or all 2, the first 2 at least anyway.
You know what? I think it's worth it.
You'll have to spend a card to move though. That's your only.
So I'm just gonna spend this guy to move. And for the first time, I'm gonna reserve cards.
What?
Yeah. All right. So that ignores armor.
So you'd basically be doing 3 damage just now. So you could use that to clear, all 3.
Yep.
But it does annoy him just a little bit. And he'll put his rage up by 2. So we are probably going to see a nasty attack, but I think we could hopefully weather it.
Alternatively.
So
no, alternatively.
When it says any shields revealed are treated as, oh, got it. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to get rid of this reaction token,
I can get rid of it as long as you either need to do 3 extra damage.
Is there a way for me to get rid of it through damage?
Yeah, so because you're playing a strong two strong attacks, if you put one of your strong attacks, as long as you can make up 3 more damage, you can basically break through that additional token.
Okay.
So you could put in your bloodlust and your strong attack, and that would do it. Or you put in your 2 strong attacks, but then you draw 1 blind out the bag.
Yeah, because if I bloodlust, that's 3, breaks through the armor for 1, plus 2 strong attacks and the armor breaker.
So I guess the thing we need to think about is it starts off with 14 blood in the bag. How many have we revealed?
I have 6, 7, 9, and then 11 out here.
11. So we know there's at least 3 more blood in there, and give or take an extra potentially 5. It could all be blood. We just don't know.
All right.
It's all blood. I can feel it.
I guess we can play it safe. I'll just do this because that'll get rid of those 3.
Yep.
And then you can take care of the other one.
Cool. So, how many do I want to do? Do I want to do 1 and play it safe, or do I want to?
You know, there's at least 1 more reaction token.
Here comes the voice of reason. I play Creve no matter which character I am. That's my problem. So I need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stun. So I'm going to do 3 damage minus these 2 armor. So I'm only going to do 1 damage, but I'll use that to stun this one reaction token and get rid of it.
And I need to move this up too.
I need to move it up 1 because I shot it with the bow. He's definitely raging now. When his rage is at 6, anything that triggers additional rage basically gives the next attack +1 damage. So he's going to get +1 damage because he is going to naturally increase his rage anyway. So let's just hope it's nothing too nasty. Right, Mike, you all sorted? We're happy as we're going to be?
Yeah, I think I've done everything I can. You know what? I'm gonna I'll save it for defense. Never mind.
Right, so his rage would go up by 1. We don't have, it's already at 6, so basically just the next attack is going to get +1 damage. But everything in the discard pile shuffle back in, and then we see what he's going to do to you with +1. All wardens within 3 hexes are deafening bellows. 3 of us are all going to take 5 damage. So that's everybody but Evan. Evan, you were very safe there.
Alright, so then I can use this
I will block 2 of it.
and
Or
this.
I guess 3 of it because of my shield.
Why is it 5 damage?
So it's 4 plus 1 because we increased the rage
Oh,
up an
okay.
extra 1. So who is likely to have statuses in their bag? Sasha?
I certainly have 2. I mean, I guess I
Right.
can look.
So
But
I'm going
I
to
have
play
2.
Recover, which reduces my damage by 1, but when you draw from your health bag, any statuses drawn, you can discard them without resolving.
That's for me?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. So I'm just going to be drawing 2 tokens. Right, because 1, 2, 3 defense.
Yeah.
So that doesn't do anything.
Why
Alright,
does it?
do counterattacks do anything on this one?
Yeah, as long as you're adjacent, and yep, you can still.
Alright, so it's 2 counterattacks.
Why does the status token not do anything?
Because
It's my ability. I've
Oh,
triggered
fancy.
this.
Okay.
He played an ability to make me ignore statuses.
Oh, cool. Nice.
It wouldn't have, that status wouldn't have really done anything to me anyways, right?
What was it? What one was it?
The
Exhausted.
ZZZ, the exhausted.
So yeah, if you'd pulled out any green buffs, it would have negated them.
Yeah, and I
Um,
got a blood, so it
So
wouldn't do
yeah,
anything.
you're all
Okay.
right. But
So I
didn't
draw
want to take the
4
risk.
tokens from his bag.
Yes, you draw 4, and then you get to decide which ones you're going to.
So wait, I guess whenever we draw a status, do we draw another one to replace it?
Yeah. So status
Okay.
doesn't count
Got
as.
it. So I need to
damage.
draw one more. Got it. I somehow missed that. It's logical when I think about it, but I did not realize that.
Alright.
Okay, so you're doing 4 damage. So you could either claim a reaction worth 3 plus a blood, or you could claim 2 bloods and put the 2 reactions back in the bag.
Alright, I'll claim
Yeah.
reaction and a blood.
Right, so we know the 6 tokens, we know at least one of them's definitely a reaction, one of them's blood. But the card itself, we are going to take 1 dazed and 1 exhaust each. So Sasha, there's yours. Mike, there's yours. There's mine. And then finally, we discard 2 cards from our action decks. Now, I don't have an action deck, so I take damage instead. So if ever you have to draw from your deck and you don't have anything, you would take 1 damage from your bag.
These are just discarded.
Yeah, straight to your discard pile. And now what happens is that's the first time we've naturally triggered rage. So before we reset the rage counter, the minimum rage goes up by 1. So we won't see him rage again, but if that was to, it's basically quicker to rage every time.
Got it. And so now it's back to us.
Now it's back to us. I have no deck, so I'm having to rest this turn.
All right. I mean, I think I'm in his weak spot, so I think I just attack with the stun.
It's pretty safe, yeah, at this
So
point.
there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How does encourage work? I am.
So basically, what you do is allows you to select another player that maybe wants to use both parts of the same cards. So they automatically get 1 card that they turn on their side, but then for any blood, they get to draw another, basically turn another card on its side, so they can use both the top and the bottom abilities of those cards.
So is this?
So, I mean, it would allow before. It means that basically Mike could still activate stun, but could also use his war cry on this card, for instance.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable thing to do.
It means you need to go first.
Yeah. But so this has to be an attack for that to work?
It has to be an attack, yep.
I see.
So for every blood you claim in this attack, Mike would get an additional card turned on its side.
Got it. I mean, Mike, do you mind if I attack first? I'll give you a bonus.
Yeah, go for it.
I think I'm gonna.
So currently, all you've done is negate his armor. So
yeah, I need to add some more stuff. So I guess the order I could. Do I recall for each time? If I recall, that would give me 1 more damage. 1, 2, 3. I guess I'm just gonna start throwing some stuff down.
it's in his death throes. Like, let's put this thing out as misery.
Yeah. I'll just place. I think I'm gonna do everything but my recall, just so I have an option. So I'm gonna be doing 3 damage to him.
3 damage, yep. So Mike, you get to turn 1 of your cards on its side, which will allow you to activate both top and bottom abilities. And then for every blood that Sasha pulls out, you also get another one.
Okay. 1, 2.
Ah.
So this
Right.
one's gonna be going back, right?
No, that one's triggering. You don't have any abilities that allow you to avoid it.
Yeah, but this one would go back in the bag after this happens, right?
No, you still claim it even though it triggers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll see what this looks like. So first of all, I'm going to turn to face you. Right, so it's going to do 5 damage to you.
5. I have 1
Yeah,
block
minus your
automatically.
yeah.
But I could also recall to get. I'll save it for future.
You're going to take it on the chin.
Yeah. So I'm taking 4.
4 damage, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Or
right. So the dazed
4.
doesn't count. So you're going to have to throw away your recall to resolve the dazed.
Oh, the daze is just discard card.
Yep.
Got it.
But it doesn't. Yeah.
So 3 counterattacks.
Nice. So you do get to draw 3 more out the bag.
Okay.
And then we'll see if we can resolve them.
That's his last health.
So we need to basically do 1 more damage in order to kill him, but he's effectively defensive.
Okay. So is that the end of this resolving?
So
No, he does the rest of it. Okay.
yeah. Actually, you wouldn't be able to counter. He would knock you away. That's fine.
Oh,
Well,
they shouldn't have been drawn out because it has to finish its thing first.
No, you'd still draw them. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you would get a gouge in your bag, but we're probably not going to. We're not going to see it. So he would push you away 3 spaces, and then he would knock you over, and then the next person to sneeze at it is basically going to kill it.
Okay.
Does
Mike,
anyone
do you feel a
sneeze
sneeze
at it
coming?
before I do?
Evan, do you want to run in and finish it off?
Yeah, just take it right out. Steal kill it from Mike.
Well, didn't you? Does
So
Mike?
Mike, you get two more cards. Also sideways. I don't fully understand how that affects the attack. Like, one is still being played for attack, and you don't get the attack of the other card, or do you?
So basically, Mike doesn't need to discard the cards on his side until he's activated both abilities on them.
Got it. So you're still playing out the card just for its +1 or whatever.
But
then you also get to
doesn't
use the
discard
bottom.
them. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, that was a very meaty attack. So
Does Mike already attack?
Who's gonna sneeze?
technically, you couldn't have went. You were knocked down, so you would have had to have actually went last. But we'll allow it.
Who was knocked down?
You.
When?
When you
now?
When we go. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was after it, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't knocked down.
Sorry, it's too early for me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Did Mike already go?
Mike.
No. Mike just needs to sneeze.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody just.
I'm just seeing if you wanted to jump in and kill him.
Oh, either way.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I could just play this for.
Yeah, no point even activating any of the abilities because, yeah, it just even your axe on its own would just do it. So what you do is you would go to draw from the bag, just like us. It can be down to 0, but you'd try and pull a token. There's no tokens, and it would be killed. So what would happen is the game's primarily campaign driven, so we would basically we'd get a reward for killing it. We would come back to the village with any of these little pieces that we've all kind of gathered, and we would craft new gear ready for that.
I would have gotten 2 of these on my turn, right?
Oh yeah, for smashing those bits. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So we would come back, we would loot, we'd craft our stuff, spend our resources. Every time we come back, we also train, which is we all have an upgrade deck. So we would basically cycle our weaker cards out our deck and replace them with cooler abilities. And then we get ready for the next one.
Sweet.
And that is the game.
Cool.
Nice.
So well done. Victory all round. Doesn't always happen. it can turn very nasty very quickly.
Cool. Awesome. Should we let's go ahead and do some feedback, huh?
Let's get to it.
Should we force Mike to go first?
Yeah, let's force Mike to go first. If that's cool with you, Mike.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so overall, I think it's really well done. I think this type of game with the bag aspect is a really nice and somewhat novel idea. In the fact that that's how everything resolves. I think it's personally, I think it's more interesting than if we were resolving with dice or a deck of cards. I like the bag. I like considering the probabilities of what's in your bag and adding things to your bag. I do think that the main issue with the game is that it's quite convoluted in what's happening when you're drawing from the bag. I think if you can streamline it to a way where like you draw things from the bag and then things get resolved, if you can streamline it in a way like that so that everything's more intuitive, and we're not breaking in terms of like we draw one, okay,
Yeah, flow.
this happens, then this happens, and then Sasha jumps in and does his thing, which then we have to resolve his tokens, and then we come back to my tokens, and then so if it could just be a single resolution step in some way, or just some way to make that more intuitive, because I think even the last round of the game we were still like, okay, so this reaction token came out, what are we doing with that? What happens when that happens? What do I need to break through? Can I break through? I think streamlining that process will help a lot. I think graphic design, I got used to it at the end. It wasn't 100% intuitive immediately. And that might be because I have experience with Gloomhaven, where it's like you attack or you take the top action. In this case, it would be like you defend or you take the bottom action. But in this one, it's the and I think that might have hung me up personally, just because of my past experience. So I don't know if everybody else would, but I think I'm trying to think of a scenario.
I
If
know that basically it's until you know what your deck is, it is quite front loading, kind of trying to understand some
yeah,
abilities you don't know what they do because you don't know what's in your
yeah,
deck to begin
I'm
with.
I'm wondering like if you didn't need the top left icon for your attacks, and if putting that value in the text would work. So you're just using the top ability as an attack, and then you can amplify it with cards. So there's no confusion there. But I guess you do need them for the amplification value of them, right? So I don't know how that would work, but either way, yeah, I just think some of those graphic design elements just kind of made it like I fumbled through some of it. I think this board is really elegant. Like the player boards, I think that's really elegant. Again, the resolving here, a little convoluted and disjointed a little bit, but if you can streamline that, this board would be fantastic. My deck personally, I feel like, well, decks in general, I feel like an issue that you might run into is picking a character and being so hard stuck in how that character plays. I don't know, are there more than 4 starting characters?
No, but the upgrades that you have available basically allow you to kind of flex into the different arcs if you wanted.
Yeah, that was my assumption. I just think first time play, you want that first time play. You don't want to leave any, especially in a game like this where you're playing a campaign. You don't want one person leaving that table with a negative experience because of what they were stuck into playing.
Mhm.
So a little bit more flexibility in that starting deck might be helpful. And like for me, I enjoyed playing. I wouldn't want to play this character again, unless the upgrade cards really gave me more decisions to make.
Is it
Um,
your style of character? Is it the kind of is it what you would play normally, or if you were given the description, would you have selected who would you have liked to have went?
I don't know that I have a style per se. I just feel like for me, it was just like I'm gonna look at my cards, I'm gonna calculate how much damage I can do, and then I'm just gonna go do whatever card does the
Yeah,
most damage.
yeah,
And as long as I stay close to Sasha, except for that one time, but I was at full health and I had a stocked bag, so I wasn't too worried. As long as I stayed next to him, I could just keep doing that over and over again. So I feel like I would want more decision space within my character, whether it's having to do with like my positioning and these numbers, or if my attacks were weaker, but I could make two separate attacks to use the top abilities for each one, but the actual attacks were weaker in some way, or something, just
yeah.
something to kind of inject some decision space in there. But I think overall, I mean, I had a good time. It was enjoyable to figure out. It was kind of weird in some situations where we got knocked back so far, but that does add to like the puzzly nature of it. It's just, I think in Evan's case, it might have been he got knocked out and then everything shifted up. So he was just kind of out of it for a while. But
Yeah,
I think if you can kind of mitigate that one-off scenario, getting knocked around and everything like that just adds to the puzzle of like what cards am I going to use to move? Do I have enough? Do I rest this turn because I'm so far away and just hope things come back to me? And things like him gaining a rage every time. I think that's really nice because it prevents that just like rest it out and wait. Um, but yeah, I think overall you've got a solid game here. It's enjoyable. Again, I love the bag building aspect of it. I don't think I've played an actual boss battler before, unless you count like Aeon's End. But like on a map boss battler, I think this is my first one. Um, and yeah, I think just getting some of those flow issues figured out and getting it more intuitive for a first time play
yeah.
will help you out a lot. And I think I forgot to do this part every time I did damage. This gathering the bones. It might
Oh,
be
yeah.
because we were only playing a one shot and it really didn't matter. But just something to note that I think I picked it up on my first time and then never picked it up again. So
Yeah. That's the bit people usually get excited, like, oh, what did I get?
yeah, but I think that's about it for me.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. Sasha?
Yeah. So I think there's several really cool systems in here. I think there's a sort of core in here that I really like. I wrote a bunch of different notes and I'll just sort of go through them. I'm gonna do my best to try and keep the ideas somewhat organized with when I'm talking about it. But the sort of overall, my sort of zoomed out thoughts are, I think that there the sort of bag systems feels like the main sort of unique things that would sort of draw me in from a sort of mechanics perspective. I would say the biggest things that would push me away is the amount of time it takes to resolve everything. It just I kept forgetting that we were still on the same sort of phase. At like there was one phase that just like took so long, and there wasn't like it didn't feel like I was trying to make it long or felt like any of us were trying to make it long. It just the
Just
amount of
happened,
time it
yeah.
took to resolve everything just like took so long that I had sort of forgotten what I had done in the
Yeah.
turn. And I would say that would be the biggest deterrent for me for this style of game. I think the bag systems are really cool and interesting. I think there's a couple other systems in here that are cool and interesting. And so my suggestion, based on if you wanted to make this game more appealing to people like me, which again, that's up to you, is just really streamlining the sort of that flow, because that was definitely felt a little slow for me. But I'll sort of go through my notes and maybe come back to some of those thoughts more specifically as I go along. First note I wrote down, and a lot of these are sort of chronologically written. So first thing that I wrote down is, where is base movement written? I think there's a couple of little things that are just like sort of in things that once you've played the game you know, but for first time playing, it definitely,
Yeah.
that's information that I want to know or need to know. Knowing that discarding a card does 2 movement is something that I misunderstood. I thought discarding a card was 1 movement for most of the game. And I think that was partially because like discarding cards was always worth 1 thing for attacking and defending, but it's worth 2 movement. That was not I think that's where the sort of intuitiveness sort of the disconnect. I can understand how it's maybe a balance thing. You like don't want people to be limited on movement too much, so you want to have the 2 movement there. But
That's
finding a
exactly where
way
it came
to
from.
finding a way to make it clear. There's a I'm not going to get too into this, but the one solution is adding another icon to the cards, which I'm not saying that's a good solution, but that is a way to remind people that exists. The other thing is making it very clear on the player board that you have 3 free movement and then discard a card to get 2 more movement, or something along those lines. Then you obviously wouldn't need to have them on the cards, which would be probably preferable. But I just not being clear about that sort of stuff. Only effect when attacking. Oh yeah, only top card has the effect when attacking. That I think that's just mainly a teach thing. When you're doing an attack, other cards that you're playing along with it, you're not getting the effects of that. It's once you understand that, once it gets flowing, that's not a big deal. It's pretty makes sense. But I think that paired with the confusion of the cards that don't have the attack symbol are still an attack.
Yeah, so that was the
confusing.
most recent change
Mhm.
that I've made to it, and it's basically because some of the decks don't have as many attacks in them as others, so it's to give more flexibility. But it was a way, so find a way of passing that information over without adding another.
Yeah, I feel like I mean I get why this suggestion wouldn't work, but I think there are potentially ways of getting it to work, but just like having a value on a card that is just like, this is its enhancement value or whatever, and
Yeah.
then whatever it's being used to enhance, it's enhancing by that value. I get how with some of Mike's cards, the fact that they add 2 attack and only 1 defense is important for just like the way that his character sort of works. But I think there are ways of sort of allowing cards to give an extra attack, like his abilities, just like giving +1 for every card that, or yeah, I think there's different ways of doing it, but simplifying that so it's not confusing, that this still provides attack or whatever.
Yeah.
Cards, yeah, that's exactly my next note. Cards equal an attack even if they don't attack. Yeah. Rest makes me think of Gloomhaven. Yeah. That was just
Believe it or
like,
not, I've never played it.
oh yeah.
That's everyone's first assumption.
So I guess I'm gonna sort of sidestep here a little bit, because it was something that I'm not actually sure if I wrote this down, but this does I think is an important thing to be conscious of with moving forward with this design, is what percentage of plays are you expecting this to be people playing it as a campaign like Gloomhaven versus how often or how approachable do you want this game to be as one shots? Obviously
So
the fact that it can do one shots is a thing, but like what percentage of plays are you wanting to be one or the other?
I would prefer,
Yeah.
I'm aiming for it to be primarily campaign,
Mhm.
but my campaign would be between 10 and 12 kind of encounters.
Got it.
So it's not a 100 and
Yeah, not like months and months and months of
no.
campaign, but okay. So yeah, that definitely can drive a few of these sort of suggestions and the sort of design, but making that very clear, I think would be important, because I definitely feel like I could see this and think that I can just like pull it out and play it, and like if I was someone walking by this table. But I think there are a couple of design choices with the sort of complexity of the starting decks that is a bit too much for people regularly doing one-shot plays. Like this feels like it would be a bit of a bear to teach if, like, whenever I had a game night, I had was teaching new people this game. And I think a lot of that is the sort of starting decks, just like understanding all the cards and everything. But if it's a campaign, then people know what they're signing up for generally, and they learn their cards, they know their cards, and then you're sort of like gradually over the course of like several plays culling cards, and you get to know your cards very well. So like, yeah, I guess the reason that I'm saying this all out loud is because this like you've been designing this game, and so you're like close to it, but that is something that is going to be important to make it clear that it's meant to be experienced as a campaign game, and maybe there are some things that you could do to help make it more clear that that's how it should be experienced. Okay. How important? Okay, this was very early on. I think in the teach, I was like, "How important is the health bag stuff?" Because when it first started getting explained, it sounded complicated, but after playing for a bit, that feels like some of the most interesting, sort of potentially the most interesting and sort of unique, cool parts of the game. So that was more just, I think, simplifying aspects of it would go a long way. Like how I like how it mirrors the monster, but feels like extra complexity. Yeah, this was just adding on to that. I liked you explained how the monster worked. I liked how that worked. That seemed simple. And then the fact that our things work sort of similarly, that when you're taking damage, you're moving from stuff from your bag. The slight concerns that I would have playing this in person versus playing this on Tabletop Simulator is it's easy for me to hover over and see how many tokens I have left here. That is something that I want to be able to be very clear when I'm playing in person, like knowing how many things I have left. Obviously, I can reach in and sort of feel with my fingers, but that's not like that easy to do. I guess I could dump out my bag and count it and then slide it back in, but that also sort of slows down the game a bit. Obviously, the board on here sort of shows you how many things you have as your starting board, and so I can sort of just do the math. But as I'm adding like other tokens in, I feel like there's potential for some confusion with how many tokens I actually have left and stuff. I don't know. I feel like the best solution is just making it. I keep cutting it myself off and having different thoughts. But when I first saw this row right here, I thought we were going to be placing our blood out here, and this was going to sort of show that this is how much health we have left. Like the amount of space here is my total health, and so as I'm placing them out, I'm sort of seeing how much health I have left. I think that would go a long way to help me understand how much is in my bag versus having them all stacked up like this. And then on top of that, having like your base two things have spots or whatever. So then I feel like that would help make it really clear what's left in my bag. Yeah, I don't know. Moving along. What does the shield do? Oh yeah, I asked that question after I was
A valid question. Somebody
yeah.
do need to know.
Like I don't think it's that unintuitive. I think it's fairly intuitive, but I just wasn't entirely sure because blocking worked in a different way. In that I could play out the like I could get the block effect and the things of multiple cards, whereas with attacking I can only get one text of the top card, and I was not sure if that meant that this worked in a different way than how this worked, but it works pretty much the same. But being very clear on how the blocking works with how you can always get the ability and the block as long as you're currently taking damage. Yeah, maybe there's something that can be cleaned up there with how that is explained. Maybe it's not necessary that you can play the bottom text into things, but it definitely feels like it would power down blocking a decent amount if it didn't. Weak spot clarity. Oh, this is just another thing. Like once you know the game, it's known, but it's not written anywhere. So it'd be nice to have that clear somewhere, like maybe having an icon on the weak spot that's like showing a -1 shield or something. Campaign stuff. Oh yeah, that was my question. How much is supposed to be a campaign? This is the. Oh, is the any player go at any time worth it? There was definitely times, certainly early on, where it felt sort of strange, where we were like, who's going? Like, I don't really have something that I feel like I need to do first, but if there's like 3 people that don't really have something that they need to do first, then like who goes? And I feel like that can add into some of the extra sort of slowing down and the sort of bogging down. So I guess what I was just writing is it worth it to give that total freedom versus having we go around in a circle and we can pass or like yield or whatever it is just to keep that flow going. And so it's just like now it's on me. Am I doing something? No, now it's you. Versus who's the first person to speak?
Would you still want it to be one action, or would you want it to be you completed all your actions in your turn?
I mean, I think there's different levels that you can do it. One thing that you could do is just there is a sort of first player thing, and then as long as you have it, you can
A jumping off
perform as
point.
many actions as you want, and then you pass it to the next person. That would be the smallest change to how it works currently, without having the problem of everyone sort of being unsure of who's going or who should go. But then you could also have it just be one action each, and then you can pass. But then that can be effectively the same thing, where if I can do it one action and everyone just passes, and then I have another action. I don't know. There's ways to play around with it, but I would say have something, because I don't feel like having the no structure worked well for me. I think it just slowed things down. Shield works different than attack. I already talked about that. Resting after first turn felt weird. It felt like strategically good, but it did feel like thematically sort of funny. I think a lot of that had to do with the enemy starting facing away from us and us being like pretty close to it, and then it felt like it just sort of randomly ran away, which then made it seem like pretty easy choice to just rest, just from a min-maxing perspective. I sort of wonder how differently things would have played out if it started facing us.
I will be honest, you are the first person I've ever seen rest on turn 2.
It seemed good.
Yeah, no,
I-
it was the right choice to make.
Yeah.
But no, I've never seen it done before, I'll be honest.
I know. I felt funny doing it from a thematic standpoint, but I felt correct doing it from like a min-maxing
Yeah.
optimal gameplay perspective. And when those things don't match up, it's sometimes a good idea to see if that is good or not. I feel like if the beast was facing towards us, then that probably wouldn't have happened. But just the fact that it started facing away from us and then ran away just made that make sense for me. But yeah. In the thematic thing, I think there are a couple of thematic things that felt a little bit funny. Catapult definitely felt very weird. It felt very strong, but I didn't really understand what was happening, from a story thematic perspective. Did I have a catapult that I made appear, or is am I
You're
throw
Captain
people?
America. You're pinging them
Okay.
with your shield.
I'm throwing them. Okay, got it. Yeah, that I guess just wasn't really clear and didn't make much sense to me. From a thematic standpoint, it seemed sweet from a mechanical standpoint, but yeah, just something to maybe look at.
I think that's maybe just renaming it, something that makes more thematic sense.
Yeah. It seemed very powerful. It seemed very strong. And I didn't quite, I can't think of a good thematic explanation for doing something that strong, but it was cool mechanically being able to do it. But yeah. Resting after first turn feels, I already said that. Beast movement seems finished challenging to track. Oh, that was just in the first sort of turn or two. There was some weirdness on wait, where was the beast? Wait, was that the right place where the beast went? And wait, how can it be here or here? And which way is it facing exactly? I think there's potentially some ways to make that a little bit cleaner. Some ways that I've seen games do it is the creature or the thing will go straight. It will default to going straight when it has the same number of movements, and straight is a valid position. Let me just get on the board to try and demonstrate what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically it'll go by the shortest path.
The shortest path, but then default to going straight. Let's see if I can get 60. So like if it was like here, so it coming to this person. Oh man, the rotation and snap is being weird for me. But it could go. Yeah, why is this?
It can't go that way. That's
like this.
Yeah.
So it could either have landed here or landed here based on shortest movement, but it was already in this lane, and so it would just go straight. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like some of those rules though can also be complicated, but making it very clear, like where it goes, I think is important.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And yeah, so just sort of locking in that in a little bit more, because there's one or two times where it seems sort of a little bit up in the air. Counter doesn't trigger, but you do claim. I don't remember what that means.
So when you do the counter, you draw the tokens out, but none of the abilities trigger.
Yeah, that felt funny. And I think this sort of ties into something that Evan mentioned briefly. Counters are not working the same way that attacks work, and that is a potential for like confusion and sort of slowing things down, especially if you have a situation where like one person is attacking and then there's some counters that are coming out, but then they still have more attacks. Like, which ones do we pull out that were attacks and which ones do we pull out that were counters? I think making it consistent between the two, just making it whenever you pull out things, a certain thing happens or doesn't, I think would go a long way to not bogging things down. If you weren't here, we would have definitely been messing that up a lot. So yeah, just making that more consistent would be good, I think. Catapult feels flavor wise. Yeah, I said that. Catapult was unclear if it could fling me. Like
now that you know it's a shield, no,
yeah,
doesn't fling you.
Yeah, like just based on how it was worded, it didn't say other wardens. It said any warden. And it says any warden who is adjacent at any point. Like, am I adjacent to myself? Like it just some rewording and stuff to that, just make it more clear. Not a big thing.
Can you be adjacent to yourself? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I mean, we're going like fourth wall stuff here now.
Yeah. And attack symbol should just be in the center of the yeah, this was just sort of tying back to the idea where there would just be like a number value in the upper left, and then the cards that are attack cards would have like a sort of red hue to them or something, or like a red symbol sort of behind the
something
text
else
or something. Just so it's like, I know this is an attack, and then it's still, its value still in the upper left or whatever. And partway through drawing tokens out, someone else draws tokens out, feels confusing. Yeah, this was Mike was bringing this up. I definitely think that one person should finish resolving or something, and then the
we
other
had
one.
It was the weird. It was an edge case. Like never actually. I haven't even thought. I've never seen it done. I haven't thought about it before. But we had that situation where somebody else took. You took the hit for somebody else, but they were still attacking.
Yeah.
So you took the reaction. So I think in the rules, if I say this like I never wrote them, like I think in the rules it says that I don't think you could take the hit for that person in that kind of scenario. But obviously we went with it, and it just messed it right up.
I think sort of cleaning up some of the edge cases, and then you'd have to sort of reword the card that lets me swap out, like swapping out for a beast attack
during the
versus
monster
a
turn.
reaction, because it was worded just like whenever you take damage or whatever, or something like that. Can't firm-footed against a reaction. That felt funny to me, but again, just having clarity on that, like the fact that this card's ability is ignore, push, and knockdown, and then push and or knockdown was happening to me, and I had this card in my hand, and we can like sort of play our cards whenever. I just, it wasn't entirely clear, and it certainly wasn't intuitive for me that I couldn't play this when I was subbing, when it was reacting to something that I did to it.
Yeah, because that was the card where it grabbed your arm, and then basically it was dropping you. So it wasn't the attack; it was the result of discarding the card. But yeah, I mean, theoretically, I suppose it could still be used. So yeah, I just need to work out.
Yeah, I think it just for it being intuitive, the way that it worked, currently works, didn't feel intuitive to me, and I would have definitely gotten it wrong if you weren't here saying that I couldn't do that.
So like this guy is kind of, for him it makes sense, but like you've got other monsters that would basically, there's one that swallows you and then spits you out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think maybe on that, like the cards, that those specific cards where it's like the special action that is like not something that happens all the like constantly, like saying on that card like cannot be like it like cards can't stop this or whatever. But the fact that it didn't say any of that, and I just can't do this. But yeah, I understand from like a
feeling.
flavor standpoint, how it could maybe not make sense. So yeah, forgetting if I moved. Yeah, I talked about that earlier on. The turn just took a really long time, and I forgot that I had moved, just because it had been so long since I actually moved. But it was still the same round. I think just streamlining things would make that less of an issue, just so that the rounds or whatever don't take as long. The way it's facing feels weird when it can just run away sort of randomly. Yeah, this is like a sort of, I mean, this would be a bigger change or a bigger thing. I would sort of be interested in seeing if the beast could be simplified. Do all the beasts have like a front and a back, or is that pretty like dependent on the beast?
They all have different arcs, so they've got different weak spots and different viewing circles. So if you hang on a minute, I'll load up. Let me see.
I mean, long story short, and this is definitely something that changes with you saying that you want this to be primarily campaign. Okay, yeah. I feel like there was room to simplify how this beast, how the beast sort of interacts, and is not as complicated as it is. But I get that there is design space in making these beasts, these different sort of bosses, more asymmetric or more different with how the system works. So I don't think this. I think what you have is fine, but I do think there's maybe some simplifying that could be done. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to, if I was to play this more, maybe my opinion on it would change. But it did feel like the way that it was facing seemed like it could turn on a dime like multiple times in a turn, and then like it would just like run away from us just because it just so happened to be facing away from us, rather than being like focused. It maybe if it played out a card that was like the flavor of the card is it's like retreating, but it felt like it just sort of randomly ran away.
Well, that one that it did run away was actually because Evan had attacked it in the back. So it ran away from us because it basically pushed Evan away and then chased Evan.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, took it away from the rest of us.
Yeah, and I guess the sort of long story short is I was sort of wondering if it didn't have much directional thing, if it could be simpler and easier that way. But I see that the sort of different types of bosses, you'd be losing some of the potential ways to make them more interesting and unique from each other. But yeah,
I had a strange play test where I played with a guy who had actually hunted boar, a French guy, and basically, so what he said was that the boar, he says it didn't move enough. He says what happened was it moved, and then we surrounded it, and then we all whacked it until it died, basically. So yeah, so
run more.
he's like, yeah, it needs to run about a little bit more. But yeah, you're right. It's getting the balance right between the two things, isn't it? You want it to feel natural. You want to feel like it does stuff, but you don't want it to be a negative play experience.
Yeah, I was sort of wanting it to, whenever it's going to be sort of running or charging, is charging at people, and in that case, its direction didn't really matter very much. It just was going to run towards people. Like it didn't need much of a face. But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to move on from that because that is getting into the campaign stuff a little bit, but I would be interested in simplifying how the beast works in that sense, because the bag I think could be pretty simple. The movement is just a little bit I think could be a little bit toned down or simplified. The way it's facing feels facing way at the beginning seem weird. Yeah. Status doesn't count as a drawn token. Make that clear somewhere. That was something that I missed until more than halfway into the game. It didn't come up until more than halfway into the game, but that is something that making that really clear somewhere would be nice. Still don't totally understand how the beast tokens work. Yeah, I think that was just having to do with like after the teach and everything, I still didn't fully understand all the things that like this did, and so like when I'm pulling this out, my choice is I either have this front side happen, or I could spend extra damage to not have that front side happen. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly,
and then what does this front side do exactly?
It would draw from the reaction deck. So we would draw a card.
Draws from this deck, and this is a card that is going to be essentially an attack, or generally is going to be an attack.
Most likely there are. Each deck, each monster has at least one nice card in there, believe it or not.
Okay.
But yeah, we just never got to see
reaction after it happens goes into the discard, right?
Yeah.
And then that discard can get shuffled back up, and then we could be drawing that reaction again as an
Yes.
attack?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. And then the other thing, the part that's in the center is this goes up one. Is that right?
Yeah, every time every turn, every monster phase, he'll go up. But yeah, when these tokens come out, then it goes up
An
+1 as
additional
well.
one. Okay, got it. Okay, I think I got that. But this one doesn't stop anything from it does sort of disrupt the flow of this turn. So I would maybe be interested in seeing you draw out all the tokens and then you resolve all your reactions after that or something. Just so that the flow stays, so we don't have to like do this reaction and remember how many more damage we have to do.
Yeah,
If that makes sense. But this one does stop the drawing out, right?
the rage one does. Yeah, that
Okay,
cancels it dead.
got it. And making that clear somewhere, or iconography wise, making it clear that okay, don't draw out more after you draw out this one, would be helpful, because I definitely I heard it earlier on, but I also, if you
Forgot.
weren't paying attention, I
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
messed
yeah.
it up. And that draws a rage card, which works very similarly to a reaction, but is a different type, is a worse effect, or generally a sort of worse thing.
Yeah, it's a worse attack, and it also resets the discard pile when you draw
Okay,
from the rage deck.
whenever a rage happens, it will reset. It will reset also when this gets to 6.
Yeah, so if it gets to 6, we'll draw a rage card, and then
Got it. So when it gets to 6, we'll draw a rage card as its next attack, or
Yeah.
in addition to an attack.
As its next attack.
Okay. So six once it's up to 6, instead of drawing from a basic, if it's at 6, you draw from rage.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, just a little clarity on that stuff. I was just letting you run this because you were here, but that was something that I think I have a better understanding now, but I did not have an understanding of how that worked during the game, at least not fully. So it's good to know now, but I think having a little bit more help with how those work would be nice. Cards just have, oh yeah, I already mentioned that. Arrow on Armor Breaker is confusing. Oh, this was one of the cards in this deck. Let me find it. I can probably find it quicker this way. Where is it? Did I pass it?
There you go.
Oh no, here it is. What does the arrow mean?
So it just means then you do the next.
Yeah, I like, to me, when I saw that arrow, I was like, so if I don't do anything drawn, then I don't do the +2 rage. It seemed like a cause and effect. Like this +2 is going to happen no matter what, right?
Yeah.
If you're using, okay, I don't think you need this arrow here. I think that just, I don't know, it makes it seem like this 2 is tied to the thing right before it. But if that thing right before it doesn't
happen, yeah, then
it still happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that the arrow sort of confuses that, at least to me. I don't know if that's for everyone, but
it's I'll be guilty of, it's a throwback from Kingdom Death. It's a flow symbol basically to represent moving from one step to another, but that's based on my game experience.
Yeah, I think if that was like a very common thing that I was seeing, I just feel like I didn't see it very often, and so what my intuition was like, it is connecting these two specific things together. Yeah. Anyways, that is actually everything that I have written down. I hope I didn't jump around too much.
No.
Just to sort of come back to my starting point, I do really like the sort of concepts of these bag systems. They need to be sort of the flow can't get broken up
Tidied
as
up.
much as it does, and just like a little bit of simplifying certain aspects of it. But I think that is like the core most cool, interesting, unique things for me specifically in this game. And so once those get really locked in, I think that would make this game pretty appealing. I'm not much of a campaign game player, so that might sort of turn me off. But I think if the flow was good, then I would certainly be interested and certainly enjoy playing it from a mechanics standpoint. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on to Evan. I definitely rambled a lot, but I'm gonna
No, it's all
not
very
speak at
useful stuff.
all while Evan is talking, and then I will probably write some notes down as I think of them when he's talking.
I don't buy
Thank
it.
you.
I don't believe it. Okay, so yeah, that down carrot looks like half of a knockdown, essentially, if we're like looking at in the context of the rest of your iconography. So it definitely kind of throws you off. Just to tag on to what he was saying. Okay, let me just go down my list here. I don't think I have a ton here that's overly different than what other folks are saying, but so I'll just reinforce a few points. One of them is meaningful choices. Didn't get touched on a ton. I didn't have a ton of meaningful choices that I felt. It's not to say that I didn't make choices. I'm just not sure how many of them felt like, ooh, I'm gonna risk that, or like none of my choices felt weighted, other than like most of the time it was kind of just obvious what the best thing to do was. Once I figured out what the system was doing.
Yeah.
At first it was not obvious because I had no idea, but so I think there's some room to grow as far as like meaningful decision making. I do like that the cards are multi-use, and that helps in that. You got a lot of iconography stuff. I know this is just kind of first run stuff, or maybe fourth run or whatever, but but it's not final stuff.
Yeah.
And the various icons are very similar to one another, even though they're actually very different, and they get very confused. Like the range versus target priority icon. One is it's the same icon. One is bounded by a hex, and one is bounded by a circle. Not meaningfully different from at a glance. So it doesn't really work in iconography. But more meaningfully to me is I didn't understand what target priority even was talking about. And I thought maybe by the end of the game I would know what that meant, and I still don't know what that means. So maybe it just didn't come up, but yeah, target priority was the circle-y do in the circle, not in the hex.
So yeah, so it's it's the steps that the monster's going to follow to identify who they're going to attack.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, looks too similar to range. Counterattack. Counterattack working differently than the regular attack. Obviously, yeah, lots of streamlined things where the combat systems are working differently depending on when they're happening. Just like pick a combat system and stick with it. Reaction versus rage deck. What was the other name of the deck?
Rage, yeah.
Yeah, reaction versus rage deck. I don't know if the abilities in them are meaningfully different to necessitate having both those decks and both of those different types of triggers. Because it seems like the rage thing also happened as a reaction sometimes too. And then both of those cards ended up going in the base deck. where they're not happening as a reaction or as a rage. They're just like in the base deck now. So just I'm not sure the benefit you're gaining out of having two distinct decks that aren't functioning mechanically differently and don't seem to be having a ton of difference within the deck content either.
Yeah.
Maybe if each of those decks is really very different from one another, maybe that's why you have them separated. But right now, I'm not sure why there are two distinct decks there, other than to have, two different types of tokens that are in his bag. But
yeah,
the reaction deck thing, there's a lot to be said for staging of complexity in a campaign game. And I think, the first play should have a lot of the complexity
stripped out. Yeah.
not present.
Yeah.
And one of the obvious things that can be staged later throughout the campaign are the cards that like have a perseverance effect and then a resolution later that causes all kinds of weird extra rules. With the triangle with the circly-do symbol. That's like keep it around and do this one until it's gone, until some other thing happens. Like that whole thing, like that's a later stage. Don't make the first time players figure that out.
Well, I put the flexibility on the stat sheet, so I don't know if you notice. There's a bit in there about creating the deck, so it'd be easy enough to strip out all the horrible cards.
For the first play, I would,
Yeah.
and basically each, the cool thing that you can do with a campaign game is stage the players in and add cool, interesting things. Where it's like, okay, now you've got this part of the system. Now we're going to add this cool thing that you hadn't seen before. People go, ooh, and that's kind of one of the cool things about progressing through a campaign game.
Yeah.
Is seeing the cool
The
new
unlocking
mechanism.
the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. When cards do and don't apply versus when it's a reaction or an attack or a resolution of a persistent card or not a resolution of a persistent card. You gotta all that stuff and just make things work how they work. Yeah. Damage resolution is working differently depending on when damage is being dealt. But it's too fragmented, and like Sasha was saying, like figuring out who actual's turn it is and who's dealing damage right now, and who's actually in the middle of an attack and what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Did they already move? Did we finish the round? Did I go? Where did the monster start? Like all those things. Like there's too much breaking up of the action, and then trying to return, like trying to splice back in. Like those movies where they keep replaying like different time periods and you don't realize until the end of the movie what actually happened. Like you don't want that in a game.
Yeah. You're just describing my experience with Tenet. I watched Tenet for the first time and I still don't have a clue what happened in that movie. So
like jumping around in timelines.
And some people are moving backwards and
the cards again, campaign game, right? So the first play should not have this much text to read. Just not like maybe a quarter of this much text. I have cards that say 2 attack, 1 block. I have a card that says 1 block, 2 attack. I've got I should have like maybe 1 advanced card every hand, right? So in a deck of 15 cards, I should have 3 fancy cards, maybe 4, and everything else is very straightforward. Or at the very least, you can have half of, your cards be a little bit more interesting, but not quite so fiddleston, have it be like a very simple, discrete thing that it does. that doesn't necessitate a paragraph of text.
To be honest, when I demo this at conventions, I do seed the first hand, and basically as a kind of entry level,
Yeah,
make your choices kind of clearer
yeah,
to begin with.
yeah. And I would
Uh,
just build that in. Every time somebody plays a first game, guess what? You're playing the intro scenario. It's scenario 1A, B, you know, and
yeah,
you're starting with your starting deck, and your starting deck has these things, and there's one cool, interesting mechanism to learn, and then you can then you get to,
up
between
the ante. Yeah,
you get to buy new cards and add them to your deck once you understand why you would want to do that. And
yeah, yeah.
it'll just clean up the flow a lot if you simplify what your cards are doing. It's like my brain might just be smaller than most people's, but the amount of information I can process effectively and not just be paralyzed with there's just too much happening in my face, um, you know, is not close to where it's at right now.
Yeah, like I always say that it's definitely it's a lot of front loading.
Yeah,
Like the systems themselves, I think, are simple enough, but it's the
yeah,
cards that make the complexity.
yeah, so I would love to see this really skinny down for the start of the campaign, where you're like, boom, here's the systems, and then you can build on it. Yeah, maybe you need to do full player turns at once, so you're not banging around, or maybe you need to do phases, like it's, hey everybody, it's movement phase, hey it's attack phase, or whatever. I don't know, some way that it's not quite as loosey goosey, like Sasha said. Time between turns, yeah, we're on TTS, but it was it was long. It was long. I think I took 4 turns, and we played for 2 hours. So the breaker system. Um, I I don't right now understand how that could be interestingly meaningful. Um, for which section of the beast you're knocking a chunk off of.
So
Um,
if you remove one of the piles from any one of the sections,
yeah,
there's basically a unique piece there. So maybe probably before the first time you encounter the monster, you won't necessarily know what you're looking for.
yeah,
So yeah, it wouldn't be necessarily a meaningful choice first time round, but to go back then and to then be hunting for specific
yeah. I'm just wondering,
things.
if I kill a boar, I can hack off whatever I want once it's dead to make into items, right?
Yeah,
So once we kill the boar, why don't we just get the stuff that we get, and then we can craft our items out of the boar. Unless you have some random drops, like an MMO or something, oh, it dropped the Fang of Unthad or whatever. Um, I'm not sure the complexity gives you the meaningful choice heft that you're wanting, at least as currently it seems to be happening. Even though obviously we didn't do a campaign and we didn't build any items, so what do
yeah,
I know? But I think that's another system that can be implemented later if it is meaningful and is important. I think you can implement it a little bit later on in the campaign. All of this going towards a much more uh, digestible first play, starting simple, too many edge cases. Um, yeah, the difference between shield and attack. The shield can shield on its own. You don't need to spend another card in order to shield. The attack cannot attack on its own. You have to spend an extra card in order to attack. Just just system unification, just make things work similarly, so that they all make sense between one another. If I have a sword, let me swing the sword. If I've got a shield, let me use the shield. Is it the card that's attacking, or is it the sword that's attacking? I don't know.
Yeah.
If I only get one attack in my entire turn, and I'm going to attack for one, let me do it. Yeah? I don't know. Or just pick a way that the system works and do that.
Yeah, stick to it.
You could either have, I would do like along the bottom or along the left-hand side or somewhere on the card where it's the same place on every single card, the 3 discard values. Right? Because if you want them to be different from one another, then you need to print it on every card. If it's always going to be the same, then you can just print it on your player aid or whatever. But it would be, if you discard it for attack, it's plus this many attack. If you discard it for movement, it's plus this many movement. If you discard it for defense, it's plus this many defense. Those 3 icons are on every card in the same place on every card. And even if many of them are similar, it gives you the space to make them different if that's what you want. If they're not going to be different, then you can just put it on player aid. This is what you can discard cards for. Shield, boost. Yeah, a symbol on the red spot on the floor or on whatever guy saying, -1 defense or whatever. Yes. The on the side thing is another one that seems dubiously complex for benefit ratio, because the frequency that the bottom half is going to be useful at the same time as the top half. I'm not sure. I would save that for a later phase of the campaign, like the ability to do that and figure out what that means and how that works. Yeah, put your base movement on your character. That even opens up your design space. The scout can have a 4 base movement, and the tank can have 2 base movement, whatever.
Yeah.
Does the monster scale by player count?
No. The players scale.
Okay.
So yeah. So basically they get different items based on what characters they're taking out of the game.
Okay, got it. The player aid does not do a sufficient job of telling me how the basic bag pulls work. I think Sasha covered this too. Like what does the reaction token actually do? Like what A, B, C. And then what does the rage token actually do? A, B, C. What does my shield token actually do? A, B. What is my, like how do those all actually work? I was looking around at all the player aids and having trouble actually piecing all that together. And even at the end of this game, I'm not sure I could teach this to somebody right now. I could probably get pretty close, but I would still mess a few things up.
I still mess a few things up, so it's fine.
So yeah. If you are supposed to discard a card and you can't, you take damage. I think that's fine. We would have... Yeah, we're messing things up even at the end, yes. Player bags. Max buff. That's another system of complexity that I'm not sure is necessary, but that's part of your campaign system, so I don't know. It doesn't seem to me to be an overly meaningful thing because our opportunity to max out those was never really present, at least in the current, way we did things. maybe it would be meaningful at some point, but for me, you could just have a supply of them, and when you play a card that gives you +1, you grab one and put it in your bag. Because the caps don't seem to actually be meaningful as the current one game that we played. Is that it? That's it for that stuff. Mostly, I just agree with what those two guys said, and I want the systems to be streamlined and start me on easy mode, and then throughout the campaign reveal the
build
new
on it.
cool, interesting stuff that when I realize why it would matter or why it's cool, and that's actually different from a starting place rather than like everything all at once.
Yeah.
The bag building in boss battling, I think I agree that is the cool thing that's happening here. And if you streamline it down, I think lots and lots and lots of other people will agree too.
Yeah, just need to tidy up there. I've already talked about it anyway, but yeah, improving the flow of it, and
Yeah, totally.
like you say, I'm in the same place with you. It's kind of working out what does what and just clearing it all up so that it's clear on the order of for me, well, from our last play test, it was basically about activation, like what resolution order was what we were kind of looking at. So I need to decide on what I want to resolve at what time.
Yeah. Okay, so anybody else have any other things that cropped up that you want to say before we?
I just had two little sort of clarification things that I thought of, or that I was curious about. So, are the arrows on these just for this, or what do the arrows mean?
The arrows on that are purely for push, so that if you're being pushed away from them, you know what direction you're being pushed in.
Got it. Okay, I see. So yeah, so like if you're right here, you know that you're being pushed this way rather than being pushed this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And then the other thing that I was curious about, so Evan was just saying this, and I wasn't sure if this is how it worked or not. If you discard and you can't, what happens?
So, for instance, we had some of the abilities which forced us to discard cards. You would take 1 damage for every card that you can't. So basically, if you ran out your action deck, you take damage instead.
If you ran out of your action deck, but if I had no cards in my hand and a card make me discard a card from my hand,
you would discard from the deck instead.
Got it.
And the reason that works for me is because you've described your deck as your stamina. And when you run out of stamina, you start taking damage. To me, that's like totally, yep, every video game says that's true. Every role-playing game says that's true. I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
I think from a flavor perspective, it makes perfect sense. I think where I could be confused is if I don't have cards in hand and I have to mill. I'm calling it mill, coming from being a Magic player. If I discard cards from hand and I don't have cards, I'm milling cards. But if I can't mill cards, then I take damage. I could definitely, the way that Evan had just said it made me question whether it's if I can't discard, I take a damage. But we're discarding, we're saying is not just from hand. Discarding is also from the top of your deck if your hand is empty.
Right.
I think that's where my confusion was. It's just like terminology. When I hear discard, I think of from hand specifically, and not from the top of the deck. Yeah, now I understand.
Yeah, it is kind of a triple resolution, which is a little weird. Discard, mill, damage.
Yeah, like I don't think it's that weird. Like obviously from a player perspective, it's fine. But I also wonder if like how necessary discarding cards from hand is. It's just like always have discard from the top of your deck, and then you don't have to worry about that. I get how disrupting someone's sort of plan for like saving a card for later in the turn, and you had to discard. But
I agree with you. It's something that I talked about at my last playtest, and it's because the discard from hand is a throwback from an old change that I made. So it used to be that you basically would have to discard before you blocked damage from your hand, and so therefore it reduced your efficiency in doing it. But that system has now gone. So
got it. Yeah, I think just whenever you would be doing that sort of effect, it's just from the top of the
make
deck,
it
and that
same,
just like keeps it simple. And then you don't have to like think about like, oh, if I don't have cards in hand and I have to take
it's one less
damage or what
step. Yeah,
happens?
definitely.
Yeah. But I think that's everything.
Mike, any last minute things pop into your brain?
Oh.
No, but I can't say that my brain is operating at 100% capacity right now.
That's
I
fair.
know that feeling.
That's fair. Okay, so Mark, what are your big takeaways from the playtest?
So for me, it's all about flow and resolution and speeding it all up. So working out if there are interruptions in place, how we resolve that quickly, but how we ensure that we still know where we were before that actually happened. Simplifying the first encounter with the game, so that it just improves that, and give a kind of solid basis first of all, and then build on it. I did like the idea of the weak spot having the -1 on it. That makes sense. And it's always a -1, so why not? Like, why not just stick it on there? So yeah, I really like that. Tidying up the monster movement, like just clarifying exactly how it moves, and like I can't remember. I think it was Sasha saying based about keeping it as straight as possible. Like it would move straight before it kind of sidesteps, kind of thing. So just kind of clarifying that kind of stuff. And then apart from that, the other stuff I've got is mainly just kind of tidying up little bits on the cards. I've got some stuff to add to the player boards, basically about the gaining the movement, also the basic movement on there, like the discard values for the cards. So I think I'll put that onto the player board itself, and hopefully not add any more icons to it. Like I did play about with the idea at one point where I had basically like up the top left, it was like you see they got the big icon, and then it had a smaller kind of secondary icon that was kind of grayed out. I did play about with that for a bit. I didn't like it. So I mean, I could maybe look at that again. But in the meantime, everything is written out on the basis that I'm here. And obviously it can't be like that for the finished product. So all these things that I just kind of tell you is that I assume that everybody's then going to take on board. It isn't written anywhere. So yeah, that definitely needs to all be written down somewhere, so that there's always that ready reckoner for people to go back on and say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I am.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, very productive. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Good, man. Yeah, thanks. Let's tell everybody at home how they can find and support us. Mark, kick it off. How can people find and support you and the stuff you work on?
So Facebook is my primary place. So I've got Dream Big Games. That's me as a publisher. There's also Wardens of Wulvengrad. There's a group there. You can basically follow me on there. The Kickstarter preview page is already up and running. So if you're interested and want to be notified, the dates, I'm still very nebulous about the date, when it's going to happen. But in the meantime, you can still follow it from there. And of course, anyone that has Tabletop Simulator, they can just search on the workshop for Wardens of Wulvengrad or Wreck and Ruin if you want to see the other one as well, and see them there. But yeah, I will have to update the rules first of all with these things, for those that don't remember everything that we talked about.
Nice. Mike, how can people find and support you? I think last time I checked in with you, you said they can't.
Yep. I am professionally off the grid for now.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're glad you came and joined us. I'm glad that we found you, even though they can't find you yet, but then eventually they will. Sasha, how can people find and support you?
Well, I think what is linked in the description is the S&E Games Discord. That's my design partner and I, where we sort of do playtests and stuff, TTS and all that jazz. Also have a Facebook group for the game that I've been pushing the most this last year, or sort of developing the most, which is Dovecote, game about pigeon keeping. And you can find a Facebook group just called Dovecote the Board Game. Yeah, that's me.
Do that. I'm Evan Halbert. Go find and purchase many copies of After the Empire and anything else I come out with after that. I've got several signed games in various stages of pipelines with various publishers, and hopefully some of those will actually come out sometime soon. And then you can go buy those as well. Multiple copies of all of them. But thanks, Sasha, as always, for coming. Mike, thanks again for showing up and helping play test. And Mark, thanks for coming on and being our victim and showing us your game and hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome. All right, let's get out of here. Good night, everybody who showed up briefly in the chat, and Kat, who actually stayed most of the time. Good night, everybody. We are